uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Europe's latest migration crisis. Is it a wake-up call for Britain's borders?
Well, Andy Burnham is under pressure to strengthen UK border security after 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta in just 24 hours.
Well, the Conservatives and Reform are warning some could eventually make their way to Britain.
So is our government doing enough to protect UK's borders?
People in Greater Manchester believe that we have been making a great difference and want to see us building on the legacy of what we've created and go even further.
Manchester wakes up with a new mayor this morning as Labour's Bev Craig is elected, succeeding Andy Burnham.
BP is putting its North Sea business up for sale. So should Britain revive a state-owned oil company? We'll be debating that at 7:20.
Plans for China's controversial new embassy in London have cleared another hurdle after the High Court rejected a legal challenge.
A very good morning. Gianni Infantino has bowed to intense and widespread pressure by scrapping his controversial plan to sell off stakes in the World Cup. It leaves the FIFA president clinging to his job at the head of world football's governing body. We'll have reaction throughout the morning.
British holidaymakers are being urged to prepare themselves an emergency escape plan as wildfires continue to spread across Europe.
Good morning. A dry weekend for most of us, though a few showers across more northwestern areas to start today and into Sunday. I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Well, we'll start with the warning that's been delivered to the Prime Minister, should we? He's being told, really, to beef up Britain's borders after about 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta from Morocco.
The Prime Minister said it's a matter for the Spanish government.
I mean, obviously, that's a matter for the Spanish government first and foremost, but it is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
Well, Italy says it's suspending the border-free Schengen arrangements with Spain in response to the mass influx of migrants into Ceuta.
Italy does not have a land border with Spain, but the measure will impact people travelling by plane or boat between the two countries.
Let's talk to Kevin Schofield, then, political editor at HuffPost UK, who's here. Morning.
Morning.
It's a complex matter. It's certainly put us on high alert over here. Should you be as alarmed as all that?
I mean, I think it's worth pointing out at the outset that I think over 48,000 have already gone back to Morocco. So there's a lot of headlines in the papers this morning about 60,000, which was the number who came over from Morocco initially. But the vast majority have already been sent back. But you know, I think it just highlights the migration issue again. Now, let's not forget that Ceuta is, I think, over 2,500 kilometres away from the UK.
We've got a map. I mean, a lot of people had to look up where it was.
Well, we'd never really heard of it, to be perfectly honest.
I was very surprised to find that it's part of Morocco.
Well, yeah, it's physically part of Morocco, exactly. Although it's a sort of self-autonomous Spanish state, not a state, but, you know, a Spanish territory. And it comes on the back of this week there's been more small boat crossings. Hundreds have come across, and that is shot it again back up the political agenda. And it's something that we saw there, Andy Burnham being asked about it. It is a hot button topic in British politics, and I think the chances of many of these individuals making their way to the UK, just given the vast geographical distance they need to cover, is pretty minimal. However, I think it's incumbent on the government to be across it.
Well, I mean, what it highlights is a tactic, in a sense. I mean, this must have been coordinated in some way, shape or form for all these people to head over within 24 hours. If something similar was coordinated for the Channel, we'd have a severe problem, and we'd have a much bigger problem trying to find people once they came over than you would in a very small area like Ceuta.
Yeah, I mean, the video footage of them all coming was astonishing, actually. I mean, it was literally like an invasion. There's so many, tens of thousands. Sadly, many of them lost their lives in the journey. But you're right. I mean, there's all sorts of different tactics now being employed by the people smugglers. I mean, it looks as though year on year the overall numbers crossing the Channel have come down, which is obviously good news, which is what the government wants to happen. But they haven't stopped entirely, and because the government is taking various measures to try and stop it, the people smugglers, because it's a very lucrative business for them, will be trying to find other ways of getting these people to Britain, if that's what they want to do. And I dare say that they'll be looking at that thinking, right, well, can we copy that tactic in some way?
Well, we've had to learn new words, such as exclave, before, which, again, sort of describes the fact that it is attached to Morocco, Ceuta, and then the other city a bit further, Dockham, a bit further on, which is Melilla. They are exclaves, which means that once these migrants are there, they are under Spanish law. And therefore have a right to move into Spain if they wanted to.
Exactly,
The minute they arrive into Spain, people are asking, how vulnerable is Gibraltar? Because Gibraltar is, to all intents and purposes, British.
Exactly,
Which means that if they
borderless now.
Yes. So if they walk into Gibraltar, do they then have a right? Are they then in Britain?
Well, that would be the question, and is that the aim of many of them coming over? Is, you know, we all know that Britain is a huge draw for a lot of these migrants. They want to come to Britain. They think it is the land of milk and honey, effectively. But it's interesting, isn't it, that Italy have suspended the Schengen open borders agreement with Spain. You know, I remember when David Cameron was trying to renegotiate Britain's membership of the EU, that was one of the things that he wanted, was to be an emergency break, basically, and to try and redraw the whole Schengen arrangement. Was told at the time that's impossible.
But Spain have now done that. Italy have now done
it. You know, so it just shows you how the debate around immigration has changed over the last decade. And, you know, we see it with climate change and all sorts of reasons why it's not going to stop. You know, this isn't an issue that's just going to be dealt with and then you can move on to other things. This mass movement of people is going to continue, and it's going to be a huge pressure on all European governments, including our own.
This is the interesting thing, though, isn't it? Because whereas previously, I mean, certainly under the last Conservative government and the Rwanda plan and all the rest of it, there was this sort of great opposition from Europe. The ECHR was problematic, which emboldened lawyers over here. And now it looks like, you know, so Germany's being tougher on migration, as is Poland, as is Italy now with all of this, and possibly Spain may change its tactics significantly after all of this. It seems like, and they're even talking about sort of offshore processing, aren't they, across parts of the EU as well. So, in fact, the whole dynamic of that is completely changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as I say, that it was a fundamental tenet of the European Union, is this open borders, freedom of movement. I mean, that, I would imagine, I would think it's pretty much accepted now, was one of the main reasons why people voted for Brexit in this country, was to sort of try and reclaim Britain's borders, no more freedom of movement. And it is amazing, really, to see how the political debate over immigration has shifted in Europe, all driven by domestic pressures. You know, that people want their governments to secure their borders, and they're more concerned about that than the European project of freedom of movement.
Okay. Times have changed, haven't they?
Kevin, thanks very much indeed. We'll see you later.
Right, the time is 6:09. Now, here's another contentious one. The construction of a new Chinese super embassy in London can go ahead after a High Court challenge against a decision to grant planning permission was dismissed.
Yes, the Royal Mink Court Residents Association brought legal action against the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government and the London Borough of Tower Hamlets.
Luke de Pulford, who's the Executive Director of the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, reacted to the news yesterday.
And I'm pleased to announce today that solicitors for the claimants, Lee Day, together with counsel, have already been instructed to seek permission to appeal. The fight continues, and we all want to win this case and to stop the embassy. It's worth emphasising for those feeling discouraged by today's judgment that we have together already prevented the Chinese Communist Party from breaking ground at Royal Mint Court for more than 7 months.
All right, let's talk to Cheng-Ching Kwong, who's Senior Analyst at the Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China. Cheng-Ching, good to see you this morning. What are we to take from this? That obviously this appeal has been dismissed. We also know this is apparently being cleared by the security services in the UK as well. Is this just going to happen now?
I'd say no, it's not going to happen now because, as you heard just now, the Royal Mink Court Residents Association has instructed an appeal, and they have restarted their crowdfunding efforts to try to gather resources to fight this Chinese mega embassy. And as expected, we lose in the high court. This is because these cases, such cases of significance, are usually more appropriately ruled in higher courts. And we anticipated that we have a higher winning chance at higher courts. That is why we are bringing an appeal, and we do stand a higher chance of winning in like the Court of Appeal or even the Supreme Court. And we do anticipate that it will be probably brought up to the highest court possible.
A lot of people, I think, are confounded, completely confused as to why we should be fighting this on planning grounds rather than just on security matters.
It is because this case is a matter of planning law at this stage. Of course, national security matters, the cables matters, and so on. But at the same time, this is the only viable ground right now to fight this battle, and therefore the residents have chosen to take this route. And at the same time, during the court hearings, we know that it is not only up to planning law, like human rights issues have been raised. The questions about inviolability under the Vienna Convention of Diplomatic Relations are also raised. So we're trying to build the argument according to what is possible. And of course, national security should be a matter that is discussed, but it is not in this inquiry at this point, but at appeal stage or other stages of this case, there are chances to bring in those arguments. And I think it is very important to emphasize that even if it is not being mentioned in court, this mega embassy remains a national security problem, especially for those living around it or those who will want to criticize the Chinese state at this point.
But this is the crazy thing, isn't it, Chongqing, that we're looking at all these various bits of legal argument versus what would appear to be common sense.
Yeah, and I'd say the simple way to frame it is please support the residents on this legal challenge, because it's just not ending here. And we do not anticipate it to end here because it is the right thing to do. It is the right thing to fight against this mega embassy who pose risk to national security, clearly has issues during the planning period, and also it is a threat to the British nation.
So what's the underlying reason that clearly every hurdle that comes up is confounded? I mean, why are we even considering it?
I'd say there have been talks about the UK government is very scared of upsetting the Chinese state because they fear retaliation on our embassy in China, who is awaiting approval for renovation. And they are also scared of diplomatic consequences, how will the Chinese react to these things? Because we do know that China has put a lot of effort in trying to ensure this embassy plan will go ahead. And by this day, it's delayed by 193 days already. So at this stage, they're very frustrated with the UK government and they will kind of throw the toys out of the pram. I think this has been the fear of the UK government. But at the same time, are we trying to negotiate or work with the state that will just throw the toys out of the pram if the rule of law system does not go their way? And I think this is something that we should really consider and walk into with our eyes open because there are national security risk implications.
OK, Chongqing Kwong, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, right, let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning. Well, Gianni Infantino has scrapped FIFA's controversial plans to sell stakes in a company running the World Cup. That comes after fierce opposition from UEFA and other football confederations. The proposal has now been abandoned, with Infantino saying it was creating divisions rather than uniting the game.
A month of free bus travel for children in England has started. Most under-16s won't be required to pay for travel on most local buses throughout August, according to the Department of Transport. It's aimed at easing cost of living pressures on families.
The Prince and Princess of Wales will join spectators at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow as the sporting tournament now draws to a close. William and Kate will watch events on the penultimate day of the Games, which has showcased some of the world's best competitors and seen thousands flock to the city.
Well, on that FIFA story coming up with Aidan a little bit later on, it's fascinating, actually. Whether Infantino's going to be able to survive, I do not know.
He's sort of
hope not, really.
I think a lot of people think that, don't they? But he is so powerful.
Yeah. It's frightening. Apparently this was all his idea and not even the bosses at FIFA knew what was going on.
Surprised everybody, that one.
Oh, it's crazy.
Maybe that's the way he does things.
Maybe.
Bit Trump-like, you could say, just sort of says things to see what the reaction is.
Maybe. Anyway, we'll get more on that for you later on. But in the meantime, let's have a look at the weather with Annie.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. A few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, still to come, do you know what you should pack if you were being told that your area may have to be evacuated at some point in the future? In other words, what should you put in a grab bag? We'll reveal all with Simon Calder next.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
6:22 now. This week, wildfires have spread across Europe, devastating communities and countryside. Now, British tourists are being told to take precautions for the possibility, at least, of an emergency evacuation.
Britons are being told to avoid travelling to affected areas in Italy, France and Spain, and to even pack evacuation bags, grab bags they're called.
Yeah, the Director of Crisis Response at the British Red Cross said have an escape plan ready and be prepared to leave quickly in an emergency. It doesn't really suggest much for a relaxing holiday, does it?
Not really, if you've got to prepare a grab bag as well, have it by the front door. Simon Calder joins us now. He is, of course, the expert on this sort of thing. Now, Simon, it's a bit like when you're 9 months pregnant and any minute you could go into labour, you are taught always to pack a grab bag and have it by the front door.
Yeah.
And in this case, that's what we're being told as well?
Very much so. I spoke to the Director of Crisis Response at the British Red Cross, Laura Scott, and she said, and we were picking up on what you were reporting a week ago, when suddenly there was all this evacuation. 3 a.m. people were getting alerts on their phone saying, get out now. This was from the Cap Ferret area of southwest France. And the images were just of people in considerable disarray. And what Laura was telling me was, just make sure that you have got a bag, something like this, just a little canvas bag with crucial stuff that you will need.
Yeah.
Your passport, actual cash money, rather than relying on plastic, because if everything has suddenly gone analogue, you're going to need that. Your phone, of course, but don't absolutely rely on it. Use an actual map.
Of the area you're in,
paper map, have your tickets all ready to go, and crucially your medication, because otherwise if you've left that behind you could be in trouble. And of course some hydration, and perhaps the most important thing, right by your grab bag, have some solid shoes. Here we have my hiking boots, because people have been kind of in flip-flops and sandals and things, which if you are trying to clear ground which has got embers and all kinds of things going on, you need some solid footwear. So have that in place. And I agree, Stephen, it does seem like, well, do you really want to be doing all that when you're just having a nice holiday? But you mentioned France, Spain, Italy. We've had, in the last couple of days in Greece, tourists actually being evacuated from the south coast of Crete. They had 40 coaches going away. That people have now returned to there. But things are getting tricky, and therefore you've got to have preparation.
Which makes you think, I mean, rather than, are you going to want to pack your hiking boots when you're going to Greece on holiday, or are you going to want to just think, can I cancel this holiday?
Really good point. And the answer to the second question is no. And you don't have to have super hiking boots, just something which is going to be solid, which is not going to put you at risk. So there are concerns. Lots lots of people during the week have been in touch with me saying, I'm going to France or to Spain or to Greece. What are my options? And unfortunately, at this stage, something called disinclination to travel, which is you watch GB News, you see the pictures and you think, I don't want to go there, thank you. You're not going to be able to cancel without penalty. If you've booked a proper package holiday and, for example, you were planning to go to maybe somewhere in southwest France, a camping trip there, you would be able to say, well, the campsite is closed, sadly, so I'll have my money back. But otherwise, if the transport company can get you there and the accommodation provider is going to be able to offer what you've booked, then the trip's going ahead. Just one thing that not many people seem to know about, if you book a proper package holiday, and you then don't fancy it or you can't go for whatever reason, you can sell it or give it away to somebody else who can pick that up, generally for a payment of about £50 per person.
The holiday is transferable?
Yeah, if it's a proper package holiday with a company like Jet2 or TUI, you can do that, and it shouldn't be much of a palaver. I know lots of people who've done it. And you can that way retain the value, because otherwise you'll find, obviously, you cancel at a week's notice, you're going to lose all your money.
What about flights? I mean, for instance, are you protected if you've paid for your flights with a credit card or something like that?
Well, no, because we saw this actually going in and out of Bordeaux, which was 9 miles from the wildfires. The airport was actually running perfectly normally, apart from, very sadly, some EasyJet crew who were based there actually had homes in the area that were evacuated. And so, of course, they were trying to sort out their lives rather than flying your holiday plane. But everything else was going in and out. And the airlines take the view, well, you know, the plane's going to Bordeaux. That's where you booked your ticket to. We can get you there safely. Almost kind of, what's your problem? To be fair, British Airways said, we will let you postpone your trip if you're worried about these scenes, but there is no contractual obligation for that. You know, you book your trip, you are committed, and obviously, going back to the sort of grab bag, it's down to you to keep in touch with the local authorities to find out what's going on and to make sure, if you are in the very unlikely event told, get out, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in a good position to go.
Right. And what's the best way to make sure that you are informed?
Well, what we saw was the emergency alert system seemed to be working pretty well. You might have seen this. I had an emergency alert when I was over in Italy. Suddenly your phone goes and they're warning you about some particular event, and everybody gets that, and you know, right, well, the time to leave, generally it's in English as well as in the local language, and basically if your phone goes off at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's time to get your boots on and your grab bag and keep your family safe.
And to keep your phone on.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Some people turn their phone off at night. Maybe this time, at the moment, don't.
No.
I'd say so. And also, one final tip that British Red Cross told me, if you've got a rental car, make sure it's pointing in the direction you want to go.
Just get in the car.
Because you could lose precious seconds if you have to reverse and all that.
But the one thing, when you mentioned about make sure you've got medication in your grab bag, because there have been quite a few stories that we've read over the last couple of days of people who sort of suddenly remembered that they'd left the medication behind, turned around and tried to get back and couldn't.
Oh yeah. So just be prepared. It takes 5 minutes to get everything ready, and you can just sleep a little easier, I hope.
Yeah. Good advice, Simon. Thank you very much indeed.
It's apocalyptic, isn't it, almost?
Scary stuff. Right, 6:29. Time for the Daily Reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Do you ever remember things and think, oh yeah, I'd forgotten I knew that? My name is James. I'm a priest in the Church of England. In the Bible, we hear Jesus talking to his disciples, telling them what the kingdom of heaven is like. He says it's a bit like that. The kingdom of heaven is like a master who has a household, and out of the storeroom of his house, he brings what is old and the treasure that is also new. I think that this verse is reminding us to keep learning new things, but also not to forget the old, to not forget what we knew before. So I wonder today whether you can lean on wisdom from the past and also new wisdom, things that you will learn. What will I learn today? What will you learn today?
Yeah, you're never too old to learn something new.
Still to come, Aidan will be here with your sport. What's on?
Yes, Gianni Infantino has been forced into a climb down from his plans to sell off parts of the World Cup. Find out what it all means for the FIFA president after this break.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates.
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, it is your final day, actually, if you want to join us to celebrate Britain. It's tomorrow, apparently. Anyway, if you want to take part, here's the QR code. Scan that or go to gbnews.com/celebrate.
But right now, let's join Aidan and find out what's going on in the world of football. And it's controversy after controversy. With
it's FIFA, what do you expect?
Yeah, well, true.
Is he toast?
Is he toast? You know what? David Bernstein, the former FA chairman, gave an interview a couple of days ago, and he said in any other organisation, normal organisation, yes, of course he's toast. His position is untenable, but this is FIFA, and it's far from a normal organisation. He would try to soldier on in the greatest traditions of FIFA, in the same way that Sepp Blatter did, in the same way that João Havelange did, and lots of other predecessors as well. They tend to do their 3 terms in office. And so, yes, I think even if he got the numbers in September, or even if he doesn't, I could see him trying to cling to power. The problem, man, is that he's just too powerful. The role is too powerful.
He clearly is very powerful.
Once you get to it, once you get to that level, and you're jumping through a lot of hoops to get there, because the administrative framework is so large and it's so top heavy. If you can break through that, then you basically got to carte blanche to do what you want.
This announcement he made of what he thought you would unite footballers together has backfired on him, hasn't it?
Well, to be fair though, Anne, it would have been nice to hear what the proposals actually were. All we were told was that he's selling off stakes in the World Cup. Now, that's partly the fault of FIFA for not explaining.
Well, except half the bosses of FIFA have come out yesterday and said we didn't know anything about it.
No, they didn't know.
Yeah, well, OK, that speaks to our point about him being too powerful. But it's his job to explain what the proposals are. It's also the journalist's job to question what the proposals are. And if UEFA just decided, right, we're pulling out from all this, when they've not even heard the proposals. I would argue that there's an argument that says...
the spirit of the game.
Sorry?
It's all they've said about the spirit. And you have to look at it and go... I mean, it's being reported that his earnings would go from currently about £4.5 billion a year to £52 million a year.
There are elements of this that stink, I grant you, but a stuffy organisation like FIFA, some would argue, needs a little bit of free market flair. And I think that some things could be dealt with in a different way. They do things in football because they've always done them that way. That's the way FIFA is. It attracts a certain type of person. Now, the timing of this, it was dreadful for FIFA. With the greatest of respect, any other time of the year, this is a back-page story. It's not a front-page story. We're in silly season now. We're in July. The sun's shining. The World Cup's over. We've got the Premier League season not starting for a few more weeks yet, and that's why it's on the front page. And that magnified the problem. It's brought extra scrutiny globally on Gianni Infantino, and that's caused major problems for them. As I say, he's an autocrat. He can change the rules of a tournament halfway through just from a phone call from his mate in the White House. That's never happened before, ever, and that really harms the integrity of the sport. Also, he was banking on giving financial inducements to every federation around the world of £30 million. In places like the Caribbean, for example, or footballing outposts, that goes a hell of a long way. So I wouldn't have backed against him getting to the vote on September the 19th and pushing these proposals through. I would think, though, that now the pressure has been brought to bear and possibly that could do for him. But don't rule anything out with FIFA. As regards UEFA, it's easy to make grand gestures 4 years out from a tournament, but they've taken the plunge and it looks like it's paid off. In terms of who replaces him, well, look, some of the names are not particularly exciting. They're much of a muchness. They're the version of Infantino at the individual subordinate organisations. So I'll throw in a few speculative ones that I've heard mentioned in the last 24 hours. Arsene Wenger, the former Arsenal manager who now works for FIFA, a man with an economics degree and understanding of commercialism, but also deep understanding of football, great respect from around the world. He's a possibility, I would imagine. Someone threw in Barack Obama.
Really?
What does he know about football?
Nothing, but there are people around him that could maybe do that for him. When you're the president of the USA, you don't have to know everything about everything.
Well, Infantino doesn't know much. He doesn't come from a footballing background.
He's a Swiss lawyer.
Yeah.
Swiss lawyer who managed to burst through the framework, owing to the fact that Blatter was constantly under scrutiny. So should we hear what Donald Trump said?
Yes.
When he was asked yesterday if he'd spoken to Infantino about this scandal. Let's hear from him now.
Did FIFA or Mr. Infantino speak to you about their proposal to sell a stake in the... No, I never spoke to him.
Mr. President,
because I mean the thought process behind a lot of this is that perhaps this has been a bit of a Trump plan because it would be his son-in-law's brother who would be buying all this.
Yes, absolutely. Now the fear, without actually hearing the proposals, the fear was that you'll see more water breaks. Maybe see one every 2 minutes instead of every 25 minutes. You might see just the rampant commercialisation of the game. The game's already pretty commercialised.
Well, yes.
And
I mean, don't they make enough money? They've made a fortune from the last World Cup.
They have, but that's their only event, and they would rather have that every 2 years than every 4 years. I think that's probably one of the proposals. They look at the Premier League, and they look at the IPL in India, they look at the NFL in America. The FA is even run, to all intents and purposes, as a private organisation which makes a profit. It gets grants from the government, but they're thinking, why can't we do this several times over? Why can't we just literally rinse the pip or squeeze the pip as much as possible? As the head of the organisation, he would argue, Infantino, that is his job. He's done it very successfully, I would say. There are just concerns from traditionalists that the game is looking less and less like what the game they fell in love with.
And
Right.
the fans, you know, it doesn't look after the fans so well, does
No,
it?
500 quid on average, I
Yeah.
think it was for a ticket. 6 grand, 7 grand for a World Cup final ticket.
Yes. Well, I'm glad it all seems to be stopped for the time being. Right, Aidan, thanks very much indeed.
It was fun while it lasted. But it didn't last long enough. Right, we're going to be looking through the papers in just a few moments with Suzanne Holder and Ella Whelan. First of all, though, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're heading away this weekend, plenty of hot and sunny weather across Europe. Very hot across central and eastern areas of Europe with a heat wave ongoing. But it is slightly cooler across some areas of Spain and western France. A few showers across alpine regions and across Italy throughout Sunday. Risk of thunderstorms. And it's turning very hot through the Mediterranean with temperatures climbing towards the high 30s, possibly the low 40s as well. And there's very little change in the forecast with more sunshine on the way.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Charlie, as most of the viewers know, I would be involved in agriculture. This isn't quite agriculture. It's quite close to it, the cousins of. A lot of things that go on in agriculture are on display here. Thousands of people coming to this site, Ragley Hall, just about 45 minutes out of Birmingham.
We are the modern ruralists, and here today we have the craft yard. We've got 9 different crafts, all demonstrating what they're up to. Here we have the wheelwrights, and they're bonding a wheel here. So this is an ancient craft that's been going for about. Barney Murray's a bit of a legend, quite frankly. He's the national champion, master dry stone waller, comes from North Wales, and he's a bit of a Thor lookalike, so he's quite popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now at 16 minutes past 8, the annual bike ride from Yorkshire to London is taking place today, aiming to honour the legacy of the Batley and Spen Labour MP Jo Cox, who was murdered by a far-right terrorist in June of 2016.
Well, the bike ride aims to champion a cause she was passionate about, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of her tragic death.
Kim, if we can just start with you, what is your sister's legacy?
Well, there's so much that we've got to be proud of that's been done in Jo's name. It's just been 10 years since she was murdered, and what has kept us going as a family has been the way that so many amazing people, including people like this amazing man, have done things in Jo's name to show what our country is really about. And you've got all these amazing people today from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, celebrating the things that we have in common, not agreeing on everything.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a difficult question. Honestly, I don't think I would at this rate, because I think the government tracks, when we say we're fighting for Britain, what are we actually fighting for? The concept of Britain, I don't think exists anymore. When I look at Britain, when I go outside, it doesn't seem to be very British. And I think the core demographic of the people who would normally fight, these white working class boys who, you know, have been fighting for Britain, who we expect just to sacrifice their life in a fight, you know, they've been demonised for decades and decades by the government, by our education system, by the media. Economically, they've been disadvantaged. So why would we expect them to risk their lives when we've demonised them for so long and took them for granted for so long? And this concept of Britain fighting for the British government, you know, the British government has betrayed us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Right, let's look at some front pages for you at 6:44. On the Telegraph's top story, rapists facing a ban from early release, but offenders guilty of manslaughter may still be freed.
The Daily Mail reports ministers must stop the Spanish border invaders reaching the UK.
In the Times, Healy, the Iron Chancellor, economic stability is the priority, he insists.
And lastly, for the moment, let's look at the Daily Mirror. Never again. Grieving families demand public inquiry as heartless undertaker gets 20 years for fraud, which devastated 300 victims.
Going through those then with the journalists Suzanne Holder and Ella Wheeler. Good to see you both this morning. Susan, let's start with the Telegraph, should we? Early release.
Yes.
I mean, with what seems like a huge slice of common sense.
Common sense. Well, you would think so, but then I think the public would think it would be common sense to prosecute and convict people who are guilty of all sorts of crimes and put them in prison and make them stay there for a long time. All of that seems like common sense. Unfortunately, not all of that is very easy to do at the moment. First of all, catching them. Second of all, getting them to a court date, and then trying to keep them in prison. But Andy Burnham has come out and said he's putting on hold the plans to start swathes of releasing people, which could have started happening sooner. It now won't happen at all until there's been some sort of review and looking into it. And one of the things that's been said is that rapists will be on the list of people not to be considered, but they can't rule out people convicted of manslaughter, which made me think, I don't know, there don't seem to be very many figures you can get hold of how many non-violent or kind of crimes of another kind are in our prisons. Our prison capacity is just under 90,000, and we're at just over 86,000 as we speak today. So you can see there's not much room for kind of, manoeuvre, but at the same time, how many can you release that people would be happy about? I don't know.
Well, you say that, I mean, it does sound like common sense and it's obvious to many people, but there is also kind of a lack of common sense in much of this discussion. I mean, the government's been really unwilling to talk about the release of IPP prisoners, for example, who are, people who've long served their time, are by all accounts completely reformed and rehabilitated, but because of the particular nature of their sentence, they're in there indefinitely. And there's been, Baroness Fox has been working on this a lot, meeting with families and trying to meet with the Lord Timpson, who's now not in position any longer, to just say, well, this is a very obvious chunk of people that you could free up. It's not going to solve the issue, but this seems like common sense. But a lot of this, I think, just looks like flailing. There's also really a real lack of long-term discussion around this, because there's the release thing. Yes, you have to free up some space, but at what point do we start talking about, do you need to build more prisons? Yeah. Do you need to change the sentencing system? I mean, what is the long-term plan, rather than just having these sort of, we're just going to keep releasing people who haven't quite finished their judgment yet?
It's funny because I'm going to prison in September.
Well, about time.
Thank you very much. It's for a charity thing, for Cash for Kids. But I'm going to a prison, but it's the oldest Victorian prison. It's only been decommissioned like a few years, and now it's used for like events and this sort of charity thing that I'm doing. But I do wonder, well, why? I'm doing something for charity, but why don't we just kind of because building Nightingale prisons are never going to work. I can't see flimsy structures being the answer. No. But if there are buildings that could be repurposed, maybe we should be looking at that.
Yeah.
But I think what you were saying at the beginning is how many prisoners are in prison who aren't what feels like a direct danger to the public.
Yes.
And maybe are they being properly considered before rapists and murderers?
I mean, there's very few crimes where there isn't a victim. Fraud is one, I suppose, that there are still victims. But you do kind of think, well, people would be sleep a little bit easier in their beds if they didn't think so many dangerous people were being let out.
Can we talk, Ella, it's in the Telegraph this morning, about BP and the North Sea? So, I mean, we're getting this word from the Prime Minister, almost drill, baby, drill. But at the same time, BP is saying, we're pulling out the North Sea. We've had enough. We're going to sell it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's welcome that Burnham is very slightly changing the tone in terms of the approach to any discussion around energy, because up until now, from both the Conservatives and the Labour Party, it's been very, very anti, very pro-net zero, very much like, disgusting fossil fuels, a very sort of moralistic argument around this. But obviously BP probably is more sensible than to just go on the basis of vibes, and has said, put the company up for sale, potentially massive job losses, but not only that, it's obviously, you know, a real big crisis for the future of there's, you know, any sort of plans around energy. It's just really interesting reading that Meta Fambula, the Energy Secretary, in her statement said, you know, she's in close contact with BP, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make sure that all the workers, local community are looked after, protected during this sale process. So it's kind of already saying, all right, I'm not going to, there's no sort of big plans for a crisis intervention here to say, please, please, please don't go. John Swinney's First Minister of Scotland is saying, you know, you need to do some kind of drastic action to stop this from happening.
But such as what? Give them a load of concessions?
Well, you could argue that, or you could, you know, if the government were to put forward a completely different plan around net zero, you know, potentially reversing some of it. I mean, Ed Miliband isn't Chancellor. Maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room to do something like that. Then you could signal in some way that the future of this country isn't going to be completely anti any sort of, you know,
what
BP
about
or any of the others.
a state-owned North Sea oil company?
Yeah, well, I mean...
Is that an option?
What,
I mean, it costs
British
oil.
Petroleum oil, yeah. What would we call it?
I mean, it would cost us an awful lot to buy it off BP, wouldn't it?
Of course it would, but I think, you know, the reality is a lot of the economic stagnation comes from an inability to get real with the situation around energy and energy costs. And you could fix that, not quite overnight, but you could fix that very quickly by changing the direction on net zero. I mean, any country that has the obsession, you know, the Ed Miliband style obsession with being just anti-fossil fuels in this very moralistic way that has been for you know, the decades or more in this country, is going to seem unattractive to an organisation like BP. Of course, they're going to go to America, where Trump doesn't just say drill, baby, drill. I mean, that is, from the top to the bottom, that's the ethos.
I think we've got time, have we,
Yes.
Susan, to what's happened to wasps?
So apparently they've gone the way of bees and are no longer kind of around very much anymore.
Is it too hot?
Yes, it is the weather. And we do, as pesky as they are and as horrible as they can be if they sting you, they are a really effective pest controller. So without them, populations of flies, aphids and caterpillars and other insects could rise sharply because the wasps aren't there to keep...
I must say, I've noticed there haven't been as many.
Yeah, no. Well, it's always... Yeah, you hear that buzzing, don't you? Think, oh, the wasp's nest is back. I mean, I don't know how many people are not finding that. And if as terrible as it is to have a wasp nest on your property, actually, we do need the wasps.
Yeah, we do. We've got to look after these little critters. All right, you two, thank you very much indeed. We'll see you later.
Yeah, right now, though, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Here's your chance to make a fortune. Wouldn't that be nice? Here's how.
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, best of luck to you. Now, as we've been discussing, BP pulling out of the North Sea. So, should Britain revive a state-owned oil company? We'll debate that at 7:20 this morning. So do let us know your thoughts. I don't know how it'd work. I don't know how we'd pay for it.
No.
You'd have to buy it off BP.
Yes, but once we bought it, wouldn't it make us money?
Should
anyway,
do.
Time to catch up with the weather. Here's Annie Shuttleworth.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. A few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland, to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome to Orlisanti by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating with an incredible £60,000 to be won. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Europe's latest migration crisis is a wake-up call for Britain's borders.
Andy Burnham is under pressure to strengthen UK border security after 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta in just 24 hours.
Well, the Conservatives and Reform are warning that some could eventually make their way to Britain.
So is the government doing enough to protect the UK's borders?
And to have the resounding victory that we've had just fills me with confidence, really, that the people in Greater Manchester believe that we have been making a great difference and want to see us building on the legacy of what we've created and go even further.
Manchester waking up with a new mayor as Labour's Bev Craig is elected.
BP is putting its North Sea business up for sale. So should Britain revive a state-owned oil company? We'll debate that at about 7:20.
British Iranians are calling for tougher visa checks, warning regime-linked arrivals are creating a growing culture of fear in the UK.
Yes, I've been speaking to people at the very forefront of the threat from Iran. Do we need to heed their warnings? I've been finding out.
Gianni Infantino has bowed to intense and widespread pressure by scrapping his controversial plan to sell off stakes in the World Cup. It leaves the FIFA president clinging to his job at the head of world football's governing body.
Good morning. A dry weekend for most of us, though a few showers across more northwestern areas to start today and into Sunday. I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I had to think about the time then. I've been having to think about what day it is the last few days. I don't know what's going on.
Working too hard.
Is that what it is?
You're working too hard.
Oh, thanks very much
Yeah.
indeed. It's the first bit of sympathy I've had in about 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, well, I wasn't meant to be quite that sympathetic, actually.
No.
There's an amazing picture in today's Daily Mail of ladies who go to Goodwood, and of course it was Ladies' Day Thursday, wasn't it, I think, at Goodwood, the races. And rather than pay 21 quid for a small glass of bubbly, they're strapping to their legs little plastic bottles with alcohol inside. So when they walk along in their fancy dresses, you can't see the fact that they've actually got bottles. Have you seen this, Aidan?
I've seen it, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. Because I saw one recently, and I thought it was someone's electronic tag.
Oh,
It
you
looked like a bit.
Yeah, they're sort of quite thinly shaped bottles, and they're sellotaping them or strapping them to their legs.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. 21 quid for a glass of wine.
bubbly, yeah.
I tell you what, at Wimbledon though recently, £3 for a punnet of strawberries. I thought that was reasonable.
Yeah.
That does sound reasonable, actually.
How big a punnet is it, though?
Well, you only get half a strawberry, but no, I'm joking. No, you get a proper punnet, yeah.
Well, there have been scandals about the prices before. Maybe they've heard and they've listened.
Yeah.
But clearly at Goodwood, it's still a bit pricey to have a glass of bubbly. So
Oh, well.
it must make you walk funny, is all I can think.
What, before or after you've drunk it?
Both. For different reasons.
Right, anyway, let's crack on, because the Prime Minister has been urged to beef up Britain's borders after about 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta from Morocco. But our Prime Minister says it's not his concern.
I mean, obviously, that's a matter for the Spanish government first and foremost, but it is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
Meanwhile, Italy has said that it is suspending the EU's border-free Schengen arrangements with Spain in response to that mass influx of migrants into Ceuta from Morocco.
Well, Italy hasn't got a land border with Spain, but the measure will impact people travelling by plane or boat.
Kevin Schofield joins us, political editor at HuffPost UK. We've had to learn all sorts of new words today, like exclave, and even looking at the geography where Ceuta and Melilla are, because they're both these, well, they're basically docks areas, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they are part of the geographical landmass of Morocco, and yet they are Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. The thing about this is a lot of it's to do with perception, isn't it? You see the headlines in front of the papers this morning about 60,000 making their way to Ceuta, which is true, but over 48,000 of them went home again, I think, within 24 hours. But all the headlines this morning are about, 60,000 beefing up Britain's borders, and Ceuta is a very long way away. So it's worth bearing that in mind. But again, perception is everything in politics, and we've had Reform, we've had the Conservatives saying, right, a lot of these people, if not all 60,000 clearly, a lot of them will be determined to get to Britain, and it's incumbent on the government now to make sure that doesn't happen.
It's still not clear yet, even if they're going to be able to make it to the European mainland.
No, exactly. And that's where it gets a little bit confusing. You're right, I mean, people talk about it being... I think I saw... Nadine Dorries yesterday talking about, has Andy Burnham commented on what's happening in Spain? But it's not actually in Spain. It's in Africa, really. So it's worth bearing that in mind, although it is Spanish territory. And I guess that makes it more difficult then for them to send them back to Morocco itself.
And this has been caused, they think, caused by this change in the law from a judge in Morocco?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is very, very complicated, but basically that judge said that if you arrive in Spain or in a place like Ceuta from the sea, then you have rights to stay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's no coincidence that obviously all 60,000 came. It was obviously a very well-planned operation, although sadly quite a few of those who attempted to make the journey died. But when you saw the video footage, I mean, it was pretty extraordinary. I mean, one person sent it to me, said, is this AI? Because it's just the vast...
Too many, wasn't it? It was too much.
Number making it was almost beyond belief, really.
And some of them come in. We can see pictures right now of more coming and making that. But I mean, a lot were running. They were obviously young, predominantly male, and some of them didn't even have a T-shirt on. They were just running
just shorts and flip-flops.
Shorts and flip-flops. Yeah. So they'd come with nothing. Maybe they are the ones who've been persuaded to go back because, as you say, 48,000. Did you say?
Yeah, 48,000 apparently have gone back. Yeah.
But were they proving a point? And if they were proving a point, for whom?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think a lot more is still to come out. I mean, a lot of them coming over were utterly euphoric. I think they were led to believe once you touch down in Ceuta, that's it. You are in the European Union and you can't go back, or it's very difficult to go back. Clearly, that wasn't the case. I think maybe they've been missold almost. What rights they would have. But it certainly is. Look, this is an issue that's going to keep coming back again and again and again. As the world changes, there's going to be lots more attempting to make that journey. But
it's an interesting moment in time because, as you say, it's about perception rather than reality. You're looking at maybe 10,000 people across the whole of Europe if they make it to the European mainland, which is highly questionable. But nevertheless, it puts the emphasis back on what are we doing about our borders?
Yeah.
Because whatever they say, whatever Labour says about, well, we've stopped 46,000 boat crossings with the help of the French, we've sent so many thousands of people back, all the rest of it, it's still going on and it's still too high.
Yeah, and absolutely, and the government can rightly, I think, point to the fact that year on year the numbers have come down quite significantly in terms of the small boat crossings. But just in recent days, with the better weather, we've seen hundreds still coming, and the government has said, they would bring those numbers down. And new Prime Minister, he needs to, I think, set out his stall pretty quickly that, he's not going to roll back on what the previous government have been trying to do, and that he gets it. Because, as you say, perception, voters think, well, is Andy Burnham maybe a little bit soft when it comes to immigration? I'm not convinced he is. He kept Shabana Mahmood, for instance, at the Home Office, and she's certainly not a sort of pinko liberal when it comes to immigration. So I think that's sending out a clear message.
Well, it is, but that's interesting, isn't it? Because he's sending out a message by his selection for the Home Office. What he hasn't really said is anything outright himself.
No.
Is he hiding behind her a little bit?
I think a little bit. I think it's one of the many areas where we've still to get a bit more meat on the bones, really, on where Andy Burnham's position lies, what he thinks, what is his intentions when it comes to immigration? How does he intend to keep these numbers coming down?
Maybe he'll wait and take a lead from the other European leaders, because there's no doubt, as we were saying earlier, that the mood in the whole of Europe now has changed towards migration.
Well, completely. I mean, it's not that long ago, only a few years, when Angela Merkel, if you remember, basically opened the borders and let lots of immigrants come in. And at that time, no one really batted an eyelid in Europe, whereas now you've got the Italian Prime Minister saying, right, we're going to come out temporarily out of the Schengen arrangement of free movement because we don't want any of these migrants coming into Italy from Spain. So it is interesting how the mood has shifted in the EU.
Yeah, they've caught up with us in the end.
It is ironic. That's what Cameron was trying when he tried to renegotiate our membership and was told, get lost.
Yeah. And although we talk about all these boats coming across the channel, if we didn't have the channel, we might be in a much worse predicament.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why, in a way, we're in an advantageous position. But I think that highlights, well, hang on a minute, if we are an island, why can't we stop people coming at all?
Yeah, all right, Kevin. Thanks very much indeed. We'll see you later. Now, British Iranians are calling for tougher visa checks, warning that regime-linked arrivals are creating a growing culture of fear here in the UK.
Speaking to GB News, they warned fellow countrymen arriving in Britain on student and work permits are creating a reign of self-censorship and fear in their communities.
Well, let's talk to our digital reporter, Marcus Donaldson, who's here. Morning. What have we discovered, Marcus?
Well, yes. So this culture of fear, British Iranians told me about, and they basically described this idea that people coming into this country. So last year we had about 1,500 on student visas from Iran, 1,300 on work visas from Iran, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it doesn't need to be a lot. If you put yourself in their shoes, if you're there and you think there could be someone there who, maybe you've got an uncle, a sister, a brother, a father back in Iran, cousins, and if you say something that's maybe critical of the regime and that somehow makes its way back there, they could be in trouble because the regime takes very close tabs on its diaspora, its population around the world, because they want to preempt dissent. Because, of course, these aren't necessarily people who are here, who are going to protest, being vocal critics of the regime. They're just normal people, but they have this fear. So what they've told me is they want us to really clamp down on our visa rules for people coming from Iran. Now, of course, in the last few weeks, we've had reports of Iran-linked charities bringing people on work visas, and, of course, we had that designation of the IRGC to make it support of it illegal. So taking good steps in that direction, absolutely. But they've said we need to go further. And one thing they've said to me is that we need to look at family links of people coming to the UK. So right now we have fairly stringent, not that stringent, but fairly stringent checks on people on their individual links to the regime, to the IRGC, etc. But what they're saying is we need to look at who their father is, who their cousins are, a bit, because the other thing that we found out is that really, if you're coming to the UK from Iran, yes, you might be here because you don't like the regime, you want to get out, but at the same time, the people who have the best access to universities, the best access to jobs that get them overseas in Iran are people that are friendly with the regime, as you'd understand. So yes, that's where we're at the moment. That's what they're saying. Do we need to heed this warning? These people are at the forefront here, and they've called this, and I thought it was absolutely fascinating, a form of psychological warfare that's been waged in the UK. And it really fits, I think, with what we've learned about Tehran in the last year now. Now, of course, the war is ongoing, and but I have to say at the moment, it looks like the regime's not going anywhere, and actually it seems almost emboldened. So this is something that, yes, right now, of course, visas are way down. We're not getting many visas from Iran, as you'd expect, but
well, it's the perfect time to clamp down, isn't it?
Precisely. We have this opportunity to maybe make a change here. And
in what way would that help?
Well, so for example, one thing they told me about is if you're thinking about universities, if you've got people here who have travelled from Iran, or British Iranians, maybe if you've got kids at university, you put yourself in their shoes, and you have people coming in and they are not necessarily overtly pro-regime, but they have a connection to the regime. That has this automatic censoring of speech. You just think, it reminds me a little bit, actually, of my own experience at university with China. I studied China in university. And that idea that people who came here, they knew friends, people who had connections to the party in China, so they kind of felt like they just didn't want to talk about it.
But almost like there's like an influx of informants.
Well, we know there are, don't we?
Well, that's it. So there's both this threat of people coming in, potentially, small boats, we heard about that, and perhaps on work visas. allegedly. However, I think this is informal informants. It's a net of sympathy of people from all walks of life, and that is why they said that we need this broad adjustment of the visa policy. And I thought that absolutely fascinating. And the government, I think there is a will to do this. I think there is. We've seen that with the IRGC designation, not prescription designation. However, that was in the dying embers of Keir Starmer's premiership. And when it comes to Andy Burnham, I think, almost like the migration angle, this is something that we are a little bit unsure about. Where is he on Iran? We don't quite know yet. So I think that remains to be seen. But I think there is a will to do something about this. But I think I was speaking to Lord Walney, and of course he's been at the very forefront of this as well, and he was saying we really do need to heed the warning of British Iranians because they really are at the front lines of this, because it is in their communities, they see it first.
OK. Marcus, thank you very much
indeed. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Right, now it's 7:15 already. Let's have a look at some of the other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Well, Gianni Infantino has scrapped FIFA's controversial plans to sell stakes in a company running the World Cup after fierce opposition from UEFA and other football confederations. So it's all been abandoned. Infantino saying it was creating divisions rather than uniting the game.
A month of free bus travel for children in England has started. Most under-16s will not be required to pay for travel on most local buses throughout August. The Department of Transport has said it's aimed at easing cost of living pressures on families during the school summer holidays.
And the Prince and Princess of Wales will join spectators at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow as the sporting tournament draws to a close. They will watch events on the penultimate day of the Games, which has showcased some of the world's best competitors and seen thousands of people flock to the city.
I must say, I love the idea of youngsters being able to travel free during August, but I just wonder how practical it's going to be. If you're an ordinary commuter or whatever getting on the bus, are there going to be absolutely tons of children on every bus? Are they going to run riot on the buses?
Maybe they'd be doing it anyway, though, in the school holidays. There'd be more kids on the buses and things.
I just wonder if you've had any experience of that. I was on a train once where I was very frightened by a load of kids. I mean, really, really frightening.
Why is it that the older we get, the more young people frighten us? I'm getting to that point now. I see a bunch of young people and it frightens me.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I don't know why.
That's why I was just wondering if you just potter around on the buses normally, and then suddenly in August you're going to find that A, you probably can't get a seat, and B, there's got to be sort of like, I was going to say swarms of kids.
Swarms.
That's a horrible word to use, and I don't mean it because I love children, but only if they're well behaved.
No, it still frightened me. That's why I'm sitting this far away from Marcus. He's on the younger side. Anyway, let's have a look at the weather for you. Here's Annie.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. Few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Right, still to come. Should Britain revive a state-owned oil company as BP puts its North Sea business up for sale? We'll debate that next.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 7:23. Now, the Prime Minister is under pressure to do something about net zero after BP announced plans to sell its business in the North Sea.
The oil giant has operated in the North Sea for the past 6 decades, and many say the news should serve as a serious wake-up call to the Prime Minister.
So we're asking this morning, well, if BP are going to sell, should Britain revive its North Sea oil company? Was it Britoil it was called back in the day?
Well, it was British Petroleum, the company, originally.
But there was a company called Britoil.
There was, wasn't
But that was a retail thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out more. We'll be talking to former Labour MP Stephen Pound and Maurizio Alencar, who is a politics and economics reporter at City AM. Welcome.
Thank you.
OK, where do we start? Yes, BP. It's had a very checkered career, hasn't it?
It certainly has. I mean, the thing about this is absolutely nothing whatever to do with sort of lack of confidence in the British government or anything to do with net zero. Basically, they sacked their chief executive, Albert Manifold, a couple of weeks ago. They've now got, or in fact, no, last month.
Chair,
yeah, indeed. They've now got Meg O'Neill, the new CEO, is actually facing a very difficult AGM on Tuesday. And they are diversifying all over the shop. They just got rid of Castrol, which was one of their subsidiaries.
Oh, yes.
That's no longer... And they're still having this huge overhang from the Deepwater Horizon scandal, which, do you remember that great explosion in the Gulf of Mexico? So this is actually to do with internal issues with BP, nothing to do with net zero. The key question is, though, could we honestly create our own sort of drilling and extraction nationalised company? I rather doubt it personally, and normally I'd be in favour of a bit of state control.
Wouldn't it be a good idea, Maurizio?
Well, I think I'd push back on it's nothing to do with net zero. BP, among all the big oil companies, was the company which pushed for net zero, said it would invest in renewables, and has since the last year, 2 years, has actually dialed down on its renewables investment. There's merits either way. Different companies have benefited from being strong net zero companies, not BP in this case. And I think the North Sea oil decision is quite sort of significant for Britain. It's a British company that's effectively ditching Britain, and at some point we do have to ask the question why.
Well, that is a very big question. I mean, if it was a very profitable enterprise, they wouldn't be getting rid of it, would they?
They wouldn't, but because the North Sea oil has more regulations and a higher tax burden than we see across other oil basins. BP are actually looking ahead now and seeing where do we put our money, and they've made this massive oil discovery in Brazil, and that's where they want to it's the biggest discovery in 25 years, and they probably want to put their money there rather than in a tax regime which is taxing them at 78% tax rate. There's lots of regulations around. You're not allowed to drill find new licenses, find new places to drill in the North Sea under this government. So I think those questions around the regulation, the tax, and what are we actually asking about North Sea oil is really important.
I think Maurizio makes a very important point there. BP rebranded themselves about 15 years ago with all this green logo. And do you remember all those adverts about here we are up in the North Pole, but we've been very kind to polar bears? And they actually rebranded themselves, and it hasn't actually worked out very well for them. But the reality of the situation on the Brent field is, and the last two the areas that we have some control over, is that we're squeezing the last drops out of it. It's now much more expensive to extract oil from the North Sea than it is to actually buy it on the open market. Now, at the moment we have the benefit...
Well, why do we even look at new licences then? Yeah. Why is that even an issue? I mean, there must be oil there.
There is indeed, but it's a limited number, and we're actually towards the end of that extraction window. And I think the reality is that people talk about net zero as being a bad thing. I think the idea of actually being self-sufficient in our energy, having that energy security, getting that Russian boot off our necks, and to actually have our own control over it.
So open up more licences in the North Sea?
No, I would say go for an energy mix. Go for nuclear, go for hydro, go for wind, go for solar. Put it all together. And there was a time, one day last year, Maurizio will probably know about this, I think it was one day, when we were actually completely self-sufficient in energy supply from solar. It does happen, we can do it. So I think drilling in the North Sea is going backwards. I think going forwards is a proper energy mix.
Why not do everything all at once?
How right you are. Why don't we? Can you have a word?
But surely that makes sense. Yeah. Why exclude some things when the North Sea is there?
Yeah. I think we use that as a transitional tool. I don't think we should actually be fixing ourselves to that or carriage to those horses. I think what we should be doing is say, as part of transition, sure, use what we've got.
But by the look of it, as Maurizio was saying, it's our net zero restrictions which have probably driven BP out.
Well, I mean, the evidence is quite different. The evidence is that BP are in financial trouble anyway. And don't forget the 75% tax rate that Maurizio was talking about. A lot of that was to do with the windfall tax, which was enthusiastically seized upon by the Conservatives.
But I mean, the question comes about then: how do you sell it? And Stephen's right, and we're down to about 2.9 billion barrels of oil in the sites that we're actively doing. If you take that up to unlicensed and unexplored sites at the minute, they reckon it's about 16 billion barrels.
Well, nobody knows.
So there's plenty. Well, there's 6.2 billion barrels in areas that they do know about that haven't yet been approved. So there's plenty of oil there. if they can access it.
Yeah, I think that is the point of there is a question, why are we not just going for it all? I agree, we should definitely go for as many new renewables, as many nuclear energy sites. Nuclear energy is actually still a middle-term sort of idea because we won't get those sort of big nuclear power stations for another 4 or 5 years at least. So we do need to focus on what is available right now. Whatever money you can get, okay, it might not actually change the oil and gas prices internationally. That's a fair point. But at the same time, you will be changing the UK's balance of imports and exports. And if you boost your exports, reduce your imports, you will have an effect on the value of the pound, which will make the value of the pound.
But isn't it terrifying that we no longer have the capacity in this country to build small modular reactors, little nuclear power stations? We invented the technology. We had nuclear on power in 1967, and yet we now have to turn to France and China to actually build. So I think that's pretty terrifying, in all honesty. And I think, I mean, interestingly, you know, the great John-Claude Juncker said, every politician knows what needs to be done, but no politician knows how to get re-elected while you're doing it. And so I think things like hydraulic fracturing, which I think are incredibly sensible, you know, if we're sitting on...
fracking?
Yeah, absolutely, bring it on. But politically, you could never do it. Yeah.
Especially if you've only got 2 years before the next general election.
Exactly, precisely. Absolutely.
And Labour would have to be moving on its manifesto as well for it to allow for more North Sea oil drilling, which... You know, Andy Burnham's told Donald Trump, I will drill in the North Sea, but it's yet to be very clear about what that actually means.
But you ask, what has it got to do with Donald Trump? And America is now completely self-sufficient in energy. They're a net exporter of energy. Surely they'd be looking to us to actually be buying the energy, not creating our own. So it seems to be counterintuitive for a capitalist country.
All right, you two. There we must leave it, but thank you both very much indeed. Still to come, we're going to be looking again at Gianni Infantino, FIFA, and the week that has rocked the football world. Aidan's got the details.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain,
with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News Bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, there you go. Tomorrow, by the way, is your final chance to join in on that one, a day to celebrate Britain. So you've got to look for the QR code, which should magically appear now. There you go. Scan the QR code and it'll tell you everything you need to know. But I think today or tomorrow is the last chance to be part of it.
Yes. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's fine.
Because when is it? A week on? Is this Friday coming?
Next Friday, yeah. This coming Friday.
I don't know what we're doing on breakfast. I think we're just doing breakfast from here in the morning, as per normal. At least if we're going out and about, no one's told us.
Yet.
Yeah, probably find out Thursday night.
That's right.
Right, Aidan's here with the sport. What have you got, Aidan?
I want to give it Gianni Infantino a rest just for this hour. He's had a tough few days.
We'd all like to give him a rest.
I know, we would indeed, not least those who are running UEFA. No, let's talk about Newcastle United. They announced, 36 hours ago that Eddie Howe would be leaving the club. Now, what's important here is that Eddie revealed yesterday that he walked. He wanted some time out of the game, wanted to recharge his batteries.
So he's effectively resigned?
Yeah, and that's really rare in football these days.
Yeah,
I remember being
because isn't it far more profitable
to wait till you're sacked?
For somehow get sacked.
Yeah, get your contract paid up. Yeah, it's the oldest trick in the book. I was so naive back in 2009 when I said to Gareth Southgate, who was managing Middlesbrough, they'd just lost 1-0 at Manchester City and they're in deep relegation trouble. I said, Gareth, are you going to resign after that defeat today? He went, no chance.
Absolutely.
I was saying to my boss, he's just said no chance, he's not going to resign. And he said, well, he's not going to. He loses about £3 million if he does. So that explained to me back then, a very wet behind the ears reporter, that's how the world really works. But look, he's leaving, and I think he'll be the next England manager. He's done a good enough body of work there.
Do you?
Yes, I do. I think that if Tuchel has a bad start to qualifying, which is rare these days because qualifying is fairly straightforward for teams like England, but having damaged his stock slightly, Tuchel, as we saw in the semi-final against Argentina, not responding after going ahead. Normally you're meant to respond when you go behind. He responded negatively when England went ahead. So I think his stock has been slightly damaged. I think Eddie Howe, with the preference for English coaches, if all things are equal, I think he might get the job.
Will that be the real reason that he's resigning then? Because he's been offered a bigger, better job?
I think it's part of it. I don't think he's been offered it, but I think he sees this is how football works. It's very backstairs intrigue. And he'll have noted that Thomas Tuchel now suddenly, after that 20 minutes in that one game, now suddenly from looking unassailable, now looks vulnerable. And he may not see out the rest of his contract if something goes wrong. You know, he doesn't need to do much now wrong Thomas Tuchel doesn't need to do much wrong now for fans to get on his back.
You know what?
His card has been marked.
You don't want Eddie Howe. It's a sign of getting old.
Why?
With the England manager would be younger than you for the first time in your life.
He's not much younger than me.
The England manager would be younger than you.
Well, I don't know.
But the England manager would be English.
Yeah, but I'm a young 48. Anyway, listen. The wider point here is that Newcastle are owned by the Saudi state.
Ah.
Go on, Anne. You think it's a sign that they might be pulling away from sport?
Yes. Does it mean they're not so interested in football anymore?
I was told 3 months ago by someone who deals with the Saudi regimes regularly in the context of sport.
But we thought, just a year ago, we thought they were going to buy up everything.
Yeah, well, they kind of have.
All of the big clubs, all of the big players.
I was told there was a meeting in New York some months ago where they sat down and worked out which sport is taking what. Are we getting value? Now, it's a perfect storm in some ways with Newcastle because they haven't a ready-made excuse to pull out because the PSR rules in football mean that you can't spend more than your turnover. So Newcastle aren't a big enough club to have this massive turnover. It benefits the clubs who have a high turnover, so it keeps the big clubs dominant. It's to their advantage. That's what the rules were set up for. They can't have these outliers coming in with loads of money and competing with Man City and Chelsea. Back in 2003, Chelsea were bought by Roman Abramovich. The established cartel, I don't want to use the word cartel, the established order of Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal didn't like that one bit. The Arsenal chairman, David Dein, famously said, of what was happening, he said, Roman Abramovich has parked his tanks on our lawn and he's firing £50 notes at us. They did not like it one bit. It was only a matter of time before they legislated to guard against this. And that's why we saw FIFA's financial fair play rules that came in, which mean you can't spend more than your turnover. And if you go into a club which is down in its luck, their turnover isn't going to be high. It's as simple as that. You have to build it up over a number of years. So it means they can't sign the players they want. Instead, they're having to sell players. And if the Premier League really sees itself as one of Britain's greatest exports commercially, don't discourage investment. That would be my argument. There at least has to be some kind of happy medium.
I'd like Roman Abramovich to come and park on my lawn and fire £50 notes at me. That'd be very welcome. That'd be great. Aidan, we're out of time.
You're only tuppence behind him anyway, aren't you?
I wish. Thank you very much
He went
indeed.
to park his helicopter, left alone now.
Right, we've got the papers in a moment.
Yes, with journalists Susan Holder and Ella Whelan. First of all, though, let's have a look at the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're heading away this weekend, plenty of hot and sunny weather across Europe. Very hot across central and eastern areas of Europe with a heat wave ongoing. But it is slightly cooler across some areas of Spain and western France. A few showers across alpine regions and across Italy throughout Sunday. Risk of thunderstorms. And it's turning very hot through the Mediterranean with temperatures climbing towards the high 30s, possibly the low 40s as well. And there's very little change in the forecast with more sunshine on the way.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Should James Bond stay white and male?
Yes, I think that's probably the best course of action. If you think about it, Amazon have taken over Bond about a year ago, and they're a big company, aren't they? And this is a risk, isn't it? They don't want to be seen to cast their first James Bond in anything other than the most popular Bond to everybody. So if you're a casting director, like Debbie McWilliams has said, the previous one, I suppose it'd be who would be the most popular? What's the safest thing to do? So I think, in other iterations, there's nothing to say it couldn't be anything other than white, but this is the first one back, so I think it will be the safe thing to do. And it has to be a man. That's non-negotiable. I think audiences would instantly be complaining, and they want as little controversy going into this new film as they can.
The People's Channel. Martin Daubney. Weekdays from 3 p.m.
With the football, a row has erupted. A racism row again, this time at a Kent secondary school after pupils' children were allegedly told to scrub painted England flags from their arms because, you've guessed it, they were deemed as racist. Is this the woke flag monitors simply spoiling everybody's fun?
Now, look, if we are going to police flags, that's clearly a problem. I think there are lots of people who feel negatively towards the England flag because of what it's represented in the past, and that's a real shame. But it's nice to see that new generations, I'm the son of immigrants, and I don't feel that. I haven't inherited that, and that's really positive. Look, so we should be able to, especially during a football match, fly that flag with pride and enjoy it.
I know that part of the world a little bit. I travelled to Broadstairs, Thanet, Sandwich. You see the Union flag, and particularly the England flag, everywhere. Yes. Even under normal circumstances, you see the England flag being proudly flown. So this is completely insane.
The People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
There was a Ryanair flight from Thessaloniki in Greece, and a part of the plane hit the window and pulled it out. And so this man, a 61-year-old Serbian man, was sucked out of the window. And his wife, she says that she was desperately holding onto his legs to keep him inside the plane for 5 minutes. Wow. It was horrendous. Apparently the aircraft did eventually land normally and passengers were safe and a replacement airline was sent. He was taken to hospital with friction burns. It was a part of the propeller had come loose from the engine and it had hit the window, and that's what had taken the window out. So it wasn't as though it was thought to be loose in the first place. But can you imagine?
No.
I mean,
don't want to.
Unbelievable.
I'm
not a good flyer, I have to admit. This terrifies me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Right, going through the papers with the journalists Susan Holder and Ella Whelan. Good morning. This just makes me laugh in the Times about Healey, the Iron Chancellor, because that just makes me think of Dennis Healey.
That's what I thought. I thought I'd been transported back in time when I saw the thing. I was thinking, what's going on? Dennis Healey, for people who don't remember, he was the man with the bushy eyebrows.
The man with the eyebrows,
and had a catchphrase, which I can't remember what it was now, but he used to go, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
That was how they used to do impressions of something.
Jolly something.
Anyway, nobody needs to see my impressions this early in the morning of anybody, let alone Dennis Healey. But yes, so John Healey has given his first big interview since being appointed Chancellor.
Silly Billy.
Silly Billy,
Silly
that's
Billy.
what it was.
That was it.
Well done, Anne. That would have driven me crazy if I hadn't thought of it. Well done. Yeah, so he's given... whether John Healey's a silly Billy or not, we are yet to find out. But he has sent a letter to all MPs saying they must find savings in their budgets because all of the things that Andy Burnham is promising, which are, just in his first week, they have possibly costing 96 billion. Things like cutting the VAT from consumer energy bills would be 850 million. The £2 cap on bus fares.
I seem to remember Keir Starmer doing this.
500 million and £100 million of help for pubs and live music venues. Before we even get to trying to raise the defence spending, obviously, but they're saying we're just going to reprioritise. That's how we're going to do it. If only it was that... I'd like to think it was that simple.
But doesn't that
but
mean
I'm not
cuts?
Chancellor, so I don't know.
Yes, it does mean cuts. And doesn't this all sound a little bit kind of reformy to you? I mean, this is what, in a good way, I don't think anybody necessarily thinks that this is a bad plan. But I remember when, Reform won all those local councils and had big wins electorally, their plan was to go in and sort of doge the institutions and say, cut all the fat and tighten up.
Which is a great idea.
It's a great idea, but everybody in the Labour Party and the Tory Party said, ha, what a ridiculous plan. Of course, you can't do that. What a load of nonsense. And here we have Healey doing it. I mean, look, there needs to be so much more than this to make any kind of significant headway. The thing that's quite... I don't know, that's quite good in what Healey has said is that he's, quoted as saying that he needs to tackle the inexorably rising welfare bill, which must be controlled. I mean, everybody at this point has said that. Keir Starmer, Wes Treating, John Healey, everybody agrees. But actually doing something meaningful about that would make some real difference. So, like everything that's happened with Burnham...
party support, maybe they will get there because they probably will need that because of the backbenchers being against it.
But I mean, on that basis, if they're going to do anything significant about welfare, they'd need to do it now.
Need to do it now, and they need to not just... So that, under Keir Starmer, there was this sort of discussion about we'll do something about future welfare applicants, but nothing right now. I think actually you probably need to go a lot harder and say there's lots of people that are currently on it that need to be cut from it. Tackle the, very contentious moral political row about young people being on welfare for mental health reasons. All of that, you need to grasp that nettle, but we don't know yet whether they're going to be able to do that.
What I don't understand is this letter that the Chancellor sent out apparently says there is no new money to help people with the cost of living. But that's been the big message from the Prime Minister, hasn't it? I'm going to help you with the cost of living.
Yeah, and he's very much positioned himself as a kind of like kindly lord, in a way. The way in which Burnham's talked is, I really care for you and I'm really going to do something nice for you. And, all the announcements have meant a sort of few pounds extra here or there. Actually, I think in order to be any way effective in the economy, Burnham has to sort of drop the sort of nicey nice language and actually get quite tough and have a conversation with the country which says, we're in really, really dire times. There needs to be some very drastic measures taken.
That was the mistake they made before, though, wasn't it? Nobody needs to hear it's all dreadful, and because I think that's what did for Keir Starmer, because they came out going, oh well, we thought we were going to do lots of things, but now we've looked at it, we can't, and so we're going to, and then we'll do this to the pensioners,
but
we'll
it
do
is
that
all
to
dreadful.
The farmers.
But one thing that would
that's not what. That's not. The people then will attach that message to that person. I think that is part of what did for Keir Starmer, because it did the negativity was so overriding. And Burnham has tried, whether it's going to work or not, and whether he can do it or not, to come out with messaging that is a little bit more positive. And I do give him some credit for that.
I think this is the main thing, it's all messaging. Whereas actually I think the public's more grown up than that, and most people understand that they don't want things wrapped up in nice packaging. They want to say, to have have an understanding of this is where things are. The national debt is at this. You know, things need to be drastically reduced. OK, I'm going to make some sacrifices now in certain areas for your plan to make things better in the future.
But I think
that
we've had
takes
so
quite a hard
much
nose.
negativity that some kind of people do respond better, I believe, to a carrot than stick. I do think.
Why couldn't he just renege or back out of the Chagos deal?
Oh, why couldn't we?
And wouldn't that help pay for an awful lot of it?
Absolutely. Although that money does that money even exist? But yes,
well, because they'll come from somewhere.
But I think the same about HS2, and Burnham was a big advocate of that.
With everything with the Labour Party, there's what's good for the country, and then there's what's good for the party. And obviously, the more that Burnham, I think the bigger issue is that democratically, the more he veers away from any sort of previous Labour Party position, the more democratically it becomes untenable for him to not call a general election. Because if you're going to drastically change everything, then you need to go back to the people. On the other hand, if he keeps ticking off all the, quite a few of the sort of the Starmer crowd or different factions in the Labour Party with making moves, the more there's going to be internal infighting. The Labour Party is really good at grinding things to a halt because none of them can agree.
So Chagos wasn't part of the manifesto.
No, but it was it's seen as something that Starmer did. Funnily enough, most of the country don't agree with and weren't big fans of.
Work in his favour, couldn't it?
It could do. And if we're going to talk about Labour Party influence, can we talk about Harriet Harman?
Yes.
Because I mean...
Go on, tell us what she said. Actually, it's in the Telegraph, isn't it, Ella?
That the Labour Party in any future leadership contest must ban. She's not saying it would be better for him to be a woman. There must be a women-only shortlist, she says. And she's backed up by quite a few high-profile Labour women. There's been interviews with Dame Margaret Hodge, Polly Billington, the Stannet MP has supported it, Jess Phillips, all the rest of them are saying that any future leadership election should be women-only. I mean, Harman's such a broken record on this. This is what she does almost. I mean, poor Andy Burnham, in a way, is, the seat's not even warm and they're already talking about his replacement. But there's, the Labour Party does have this problem. Lots of people point to it, that it's one of the only parties that hasn't had a woman in the leadership position. On the other hand, even as a woman saying this, I don't really care, because who would it be? Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, Jess Phillips, Harriet Harman herself. None of those people are inspiring, whether they're women or men.
And I agree with you, but as a woman, I do care, and I've always cared about this, and it's one of the reasons I pulled away from the Labour Party many, many years ago, because I found it culturally to be the most misogynistic group of people I've ever come across. And I do believe that is what pulls the strings behind the Labour Party quite a lot of the time.
She's pointed out in this piece, hasn't she, that there have been so many men who've obviously been leaders before, and they've always put a woman behind them as sort of deputy.
Yeah.
So they've
what's wrong with that?
But they've kowtowed. They've a token woman. That's what it is.
Well, she's also saying that every man who takes, in future, every man who takes it, don't you realise you're pushing a woman behind? And I'm like, that's not how women want to be addressed. That's not how we want to go on in the world.
You want a sympathy vote?
I don't want a sympathy vote.
It's
I don't want anyone to take that position because they've been given it, because they've been given a chance.
I just don't buy this whole... I'm not sort of defending the Labour Party necessarily, but I don't buy this whole discussion of it's so full of misogyny. Polly Billington is quoted as saying there are dark forces within the party. If that's the case, then kick them all out, make it public, or otherwise, stop. I don't know, there's just a kind of a farce going on here. Is it true or is it not?
All right, you two.
Fascinating.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, time for the Great British Giveaway. Your time is ticking if you want to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real solid gold bar. Here's how you take part.
One person is guaranteed to win over £65,000 worth of gold and cash. And that person could be you. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, Orla Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, with a migration crisis on Gibraltar's doorstep, raising new security fears, should Britain send troops to defend Gibraltar? We'll be debating that at about 8:20. First, though, time for the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. Few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue, holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with your chance to win a real gold bar. That's right, a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 could be yours. We're also going to make sure your finances are fabulous with £60,000 in tax-free cash. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is Europe's latest migration crisis a wake-up call for Britain?
Andy Burnham is under pressure now to strengthen UK border security after 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta in just 24 hours.
Well, the Conservatives and Reform are warning that some could eventually make their way to Britain.
So is the government doing enough to protect the UK borders?
And to have the resounding victory that we've had just fills me with confidence, really, that people in Greater Manchester believe that we have been making a great difference and want to see us building on the legacy of what we've created and go even further.
Manchester waking up with a new mayor this morning as Labour's Bev Craig is elected.
Yes, Bev Craig has been elected as Mayor of Manchester with a decisive victory. But with voter turnout slumping, could it be called another loveless landslide?
Plans for China's controversial new embassy in London have cleared another hurdle after the High Court rejected a legal challenge.
Gianni Infantino has bowed to intense and widespread pressure by scrapping his controversial plan to sell off stakes in the World Cup. It leaves the FIFA president clinging to his job at the head of the world football's governing body.
Good morning. A dry weekend for most of us, though a few showers across more northwestern areas to start today and into Sunday. I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I'm just trying to look up Bev Craig because we haven't really covered a lot of the Manchester mayoral election because it's quite difficult to all these rules and regulations.
So now we want to know more about who she is.
Because we've not obviously seen a lot of the stuff. But she born in 1985. That's always depresses me slightly when everyone's younger than me now.
Yeah.
All younger than me. Everyone's younger than me.
Same year as the Sinclair C5 came out.
Is it really? Well, there you go. Well, she's done better than the Sinclair C5.
Yes.
And 1985 was also when the Schengen Agreement was signed.
Is that right?
On the River Moselle.
Wow.
Because it was between 3 bordering countries.
See, we didn't think it was that long ago, did we?
No,
we were talking about
85.
It this morning.
And we're talking about 85, aren't we?
I'd have said, well, Schengen.
Yeah,
I'd have
Schengen,
said
I think, was
early
85.
2000s.
Yeah, you would have done. Yeah.
And it was done on the River Moselle because that's where 3 intersecting countries were. It was just a little village made famous by the name of that agreement.
Wow.
Interesting, isn't it?
Amazing.
Well, and now Italy's pulled out of it. Temporarily.
You wonder whether it'll be the start.
Oh, you do wonder. It's all down to what's happened in Ceuta, of course, where the Prime Minister has, as a result of those 60,000 migrants crossing into that Spanish enclave, has been told to beef up Britain's borders. The Prime Minister, though, says, well, it's Spanish, so it's not his concern.
I mean, obviously that's a matter for the Spanish government first and foremost, but it is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
Well, meanwhile, Italy says that it is suspending the EU's border-free Schengen arrangements with Spain in response to that mass influx of migrants into Ceuta from Morocco.
Italy hasn't got a land border with Spain, but that will impact people travelling by plane or boat between the two countries.
Well, let's talk to GB News' national reporter Charlie Peters, who joins us now. I mean, it's not surprising that people are alarmed when you see those pictures.
Yes, and the big question now is why did this sudden influx happen? There's been no shortage of attempts to break into so-called fortress Europe, as defenders of the European border security strategy refer to it often as. But this one does seem particularly sudden and, as we've seen from the figures now at least, 57 people perished. It's been also a tragic incident of people rushing into this Spanish enclave of Ceuta. So what is emerging now is some concern that the Moroccan authorities could have been involved in the movement of these some 60,000 people into this territory. Speaking to people on the ground, the number of Moroccans who've attempted to enter this territory, who've spoken to the press on the ground and said that police officers told them directly, go that way, ushering them towards the enclave. One man, Mohamed Amido, 37-year-old, who actually spoke to the New York Times yesterday, who said he heard about the influx on social media, and as he approached the border, Moroccan police officers said, come to Spain. But many of those individuals have now returned. Yesterday, they were saying about 48,000 had made the journey back. In fact, Mr. Amido, that 37-year-old who said he was ushered in, had left because there was nothing to eat or drink. Another man, also speaking to the New York Times, Youssef Alawi, a 26-year-old, said that Moroccan police officers pointed him in the right direction and said, go that way, go that way. And of course, there is a precedent for this as well. We have seen Morocco using immigration as a diplomatic tool in the past. It funneled some 8,000 people into Ceuta in 2021 over a dispute with the Spanish kingdom. Then there was also another situation in the Western Sahara in 1975. We've seen an influx into this enclave in 2005 as well. So look, Morocco isn't the first country that's been accused of using mass migration and the sudden influx of illegal migrants as a diplomatic tool, or indeed a weapon, as some have termed it. We've seen Turkey doing the same during the dispute with Syria a decade ago, when we saw 1 million move into Europe and Angela Merkel accepting them. There will, of course, need to be more rigorous checks on what has happened here, but a lot of on-the-ground reporting, and we'll hear from our correspondent, DGBT, later, and what he's heard and what he's seen on the ground as well, but a lot of reporting so far indicating some degree of at least facilitation by the Moroccans.
But then we're left with this situation now where, yes, it's been a frightening figure, and it's still very large, that 12,000 people are left. But are we right then to be having a great panic about what could be happening at the Channel or even in Gibraltar as a result of all this? Because we don't know if those 12,000 people are going to be able to make it to the European mainland.
It's an EU official, senior EU officials were insisting yesterday that they wouldn't be able to get out of the enclave into mainland Europe. But senior EU officials have been briefing for years that certain things won't happen with migration, and then they do. Should we be concerned about this in Britain? Well, I think absolutely. We've been 8 years now into a mass migration crisis with the small boats, which is not being stopped, and people are coming to that position from all over the world. The nationalities involved in making those crossings are varied and do include many from North Africa. There are so many smuggling routes into the country. What we're seeing now with these land and sea crossings is the very savvy facilitators of these movements finding another method in, potentially with state support. That's when it will become particularly tricky for the Labour government and Andy Burnham, how they will actually start to prevent these flows of migrants from around the world towards the United Kingdom if they also have the added concern of states being involved, hostile states potentially being involved in moving them. We heard last week about these reports that the Iranian regime was exploiting this weakness. It's hardly a surprise that those who wish to do us harm are focusing on one of the weakest points in our national security, which is our inability to prevent people for the best part of a decade from illegally breaking into the country by simply pushing a boat towards our territorial waters.
And also the concept, the concern of human rights lawyers and judges sort of changing the rules a bit and enabling them to have rights when they reach a certain land. They have rights that they didn't have before. For instance, wasn't there a judge in Morocco who made the ruling that if they got to Ceuta by sea, that gave them rights once they landed?
Actually, this is a Spanish Supreme Court decision made this week. So the Supreme Court in Spain this week has changed the law, or at least challenged the law, that crossing a sea border, if there's no physical border, removes the right for the state, the Kingdom of Spain, to intercept and return them at sea. Now, yesterday, Pedro Sanchez in Ceuta said, well, we'll put in our own physical maritime border, put in a stretch of buoys to prevent that floating in the sea, to overcome that change in the law. But it's too late. They've already made that influx and that crossing. So that law change basically gave legal opportunities to those who wish to make.
And is that what caused this enormous influx?
It gave them a legal opportunity to do so. But there are other critics also of this, Anne, who are saying, well, Pedro Sanchez has also introduced this illegal immigration amnesty in the country in the last year, 1 million plus people benefiting from that. Spain is looking like the weak link in Europe's armour when it comes to dealing with illegal migration. That is what its critics are saying. Yesterday, Pedro Sanchez said, actually, when you look at people who are illegally entering into Spain, Italy has had some 200,000 people more than Spain. So why on earth are they criticising us and suspending or attempting to suspend the Schengen Agreement, that free travel arrangement with us? But equally, the Italians might say, yes, we had a big problem in the past. We've beefed up our efforts now. We've now got Giorgia Meloni in charge. She's making a difference. What have you done, Pedro Sanchez? You've made being an illegal migrant totally legal. And you've allowed your Supreme Court to follow this legal precedent, which has led to the pictures you're seeing on your screen now. An enclave of just 84,000 people facing ransackings and being suddenly overrun by people who were facing their sovereignty just being totally demolished.
OK, Charlie, thank you. We'll see you a little bit later on. Let's turn on to other political matters this morning. I'm fed up of calling the Prime Minister the former Mayor of Greater Manchester. We all know he had that job. Anyway, there's a new Mayor of Greater Manchester now, and it's Bev Craig from the Labour Party. She fairly solidly defeated Reform UK's Sian Astley, who came in second.
But turnout was very low, 25%. That marks the lowest recorded since the mayoralty was actually created in 2017. Hundreds of thousands of voters chose to stay at home.
Despite the low turnout, this marks a decisive pass for the Prime Minister's first electoral test since he arrived in Downing Street. I mean, Reform had really been hoping to take this, and in the end...
Their vote was low.
Well, she got about nearly twice as many, Olivia?
Almost exactly twice as many. It was 300,000 to 150,000 for the Reform candidate. On the face of it, that looks like a very good, impressive boost for Andy Burnham, and he will certainly be breathing a sigh of relief. That Manchester mayoralty contest, which of course he triggered by standing in the Makerfield by-election, cost the taxpayer £5 million. So if Labour had then gone on to lose it, there would be plenty of people in the Labour Party who would say that Andy Burnham had acted out of self-interest rather than the interest of the party and the city. So he will certainly be breathing a sigh of relief. It's not without flies in the ointment, though. One of them, which you've mentioned, is that 25% turnout. That is very low indeed, the lowest since 2017 when the mayoralty was created. The winner only secured 300,000 votes in a city of millions and millions of people. So, there might be an argument that she doesn't quite have that mandate. You could call it the sort of loveless landslide that Keir Starmer achieved in the 2024 general election. The other criticism, of course, is that Labour has been criticised for rushing through changes to the voting system in Manchester. So instead of the first-past-the-post system, which is used in our general elections, the Manchester mayoralty was done including second preferences. So as it indeed happened, if there is no winner on first preferences, it goes to second preferences. Now, in a situation like this, that means that Labour manages to mop up all the votes on the left. So they're getting all the Lib Dem votes, all the Green votes as well. And that, in part, secured them their impressive victory. So it is a little bit tainted by that change to the voting system, some people calling it gerrymandering of Labour's opposition, and of course tainted too by the low turnout. But on the face of it, it is a win for Andy Burnham, and he will be breathing a huge sigh of relief, because losing would have been a disastrous blow.
I've heard some commentators in the last 24 hours sort of saying, why such a low turnout? I would have thought it's because the voters are a bit fed up with elections and feeling, particularly in that area, of being used politically.
I expect there definitely is an element of low turnout because of fatigue with elections. We have seen that before. I think also it's astonishing the extent to which this Manchester mayoralty election has sort of gone under the radar because we have a new Prime Minister, because everyone's talking about Andy Burnham's new policies. I was talking to a group of very plugged-in Westminster journalists who were all saying, oh, I forgot it was the Manchester mayoralty at the weekend. Yeah. It has gone under the radar. So I think perhaps there are people in Manchester who weren't even really aware that it was going on. One reason or another, very low turnout, and that, to some extent, isn't the best start for Bev Craig, the new Mayor of Manchester.
And how will Reform be feeling about this?
Well, it's another blow, particularly as Andy Burnham's party has now caught up with Reform in some of the polling that we're seeing. Reform is very, very dependent on momentum. As we saw last summer, there was a bit of a dip in Reform's polling, and then it continued to sort of sink down. That is exactly what Reform doesn't want. This time, they are very, very, very dependent on that momentum. But as we've just got a new Mayor of Manchester, let's have a listen to what she had to say.
Well, we're joined now by the new Mayor of Greater Manchester, Bev Craig. Bev, thank you so much for joining us. A really rather resounding victory, although it wasn't quite the 50% needed to just get through on the first preference. What do you make of the result in the end?
So look, I'm incredibly pleased. I started this campaign when the only poll in the field showed me on 33% and Reform on 30%. To be able to hit 47% in the first round and to have the resounding victory that we've had just fills me with confidence, really, that people in Greater Manchester believe that we have been making a great difference and want to see us building on the legacy of what we've created and go even further.
Now, in your speech there, you said you're going to serve every single resident, every single day. Talk to us a bit about how you're going to do that.
So, look, I think for me, I've run on a platform that talks about what it means to have a good life in Greater Manchester. A home you can afford, a town centre that you're proud of, making policy decisions that put more money in people's pockets, like free buses for 11 to 18-year-olds, that give families up to 500 quid each. You know, these are practical things that I don't think are driven by ideology, but are driven by the fact that everybody in every town, village and city in Greater Manchester wants to live a good life, and they're the kinds of things that I think mayors should be doing, and they're the kind of priorities that I'll have as mayor.
Now, a lot of people might argue that the reason you perhaps had the victory today was to do with this Burnham bounce that the Labour Party is currently enjoying. Yeah. What would you say to that, and how are you going to fill your predecessor's shoes? Of course, he was in the job for 9 years. How are you going to fill those shoes?
So look, I'm on record throughout the course of this campaign. I worked really closely with Andy. You know, as leader of the council, I was his deputy on all of the economic growth and the good growth work that we try to do right across the city region. You know, so of course Labour doing well in the polls, doing better than they've been able to in time is a great thing. I am a Labour politician after all. But I also think the margin of victory that we see shows that there's something else that's deeper here in Greater Manchester, and that broadly people don't want somebody that's going to come in and tear everything up, but actually build on the legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's maintaining the status quo then, isn't it?
Well, very much. It seems as though this mayoralty is going to be a continuation of what Andy Burnham was promising. Lots of spending promises there, which you will see echoed in Andy Burnham's national promises. Let's see how it all pans out. We know that Manchester is on a good track at the moment, partly because of Burnham's leadership, partly because of things that were going on behind the scenes in Manchester councils, even before there was a mayoralty there. It is a fast-growing city. Quite a nice crown to get, I think, for Bev Craig. Let's see what she does for that.
OK. Olivia, thank you.
Yeah, we were just talking about Labour women maybe not getting the big jobs, or certainly not getting the leadership, but you know, she's the mayor now.
Yeah,
Good luck to her.
See what happens. Right, another news for you this morning. Gianni Infantino has scrapped FIFA's controversial plans to sell stakes in a company running the World Cup. after fierce opposition from UEFA and other football confederations and some of his own deputies, actually. The proposals has now been abandoned, Mr Infantino saying it was creating divisions rather than uniting the game.
A month of free bus travel for children in England has started. Most under-16s won't be required to pay for travel on most local buses throughout August. The Department for Transport has said it's aimed at easing cost of living pressures on families during the school holidays.
And the Prince and Princess of Wales will join spectators at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow as it draws to a close. William and Catherine will watch events on the penultimate day, which has showcased some of the world's best competitors and seen thousands of people head to the city.
Right, well, the time already, 8:18. Let's catch up with the weather. Here's Annie Shuttleworth.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. Few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Still to come, should Britain now deploy troops to defend Gibraltar? We'll be debating that next.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
8:24 and Spain facing an overwhelming border security breach after 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta from Morocco. 48,000 have gone back so far.
Yeah, but it's still a... it was just the sight of all of those people just massing in. The Spanish government deployed military personnel to maintain security, and surrounding countries like Italy are said to be on high alert.
So we're asking this morning, should Britain deploy troops to defend Gibraltar?
Well, joining us in the studio for this morning's debate, Robert Midgley, spokesperson of Friends of British Overseas Territories, and journalist Mitchell Durden. Is it Mitchell? Yes?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome to you both. Robert, first, is there any cause for concern for Gibraltar at the moment?
I think if those 60,000 did make their way onto mainland Europe, yes, there would be, in my opinion anyway. Gibraltar has been on a heightened alert for the past few days. The Chief Minister and Governor's Office have both been monitoring the situation. And, of course, they said last night that in a statement that there's no reason for alarm, but also 2 weeks ago they took down the border and joined Schengen. So everyone was saying, oh, this is actually a really bad time for this emergency to happen. But we've been very fortunate that they haven't crossed the channel the Strait of Gibraltar at all, which is very fortunate. But otherwise, yes, because Gibraltar has a garrison of around 400 troops, and that's down from about 2,000 maybe about 50 years ago. So I think there would have been a problem had those people crossed the Strait of Gibraltar.
Except Gibraltar's absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
So if a whole load of people had arrived in Gibraltar, it'd be the same situation as we're seeing in Ceuta, where you're going to know where they are.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to do something about it, which is what's happening.
Gibraltar's one of the safest places in the world, if you've ever been. Everyone knows each other there. It's got a population of around 30,000 people. Not much crime happens. Before the border came down, people were citing security concerns because there's a lot of smuggling, cross-border smuggling of alcohol, drugs, whatever. And also crime rates across the border are much higher. So they have had implications of people crossing the border and causing problems the past week or so, and crime rates have gone up, but we would have seen a significant amount of crime gone up had those people come in. And the Royal Gibraltar Police are only so big, the military garrison there is only so big, so yes, they would have struggled, and yes, we would have had to send some sort of reinforcement in to secure Gibraltar.
Mitchell, what do you think? Is this something that Gibraltarians and Fabian Picardo should be worried about?
Well, potentially, yes. You've seen a massive incursion into quite a neighbouring territory. You can literally see it's from Gibraltar. It's just the other side of the strait. It is something you'd want to be concerned about, particularly the reports about Morocco could have infiltrated or influenced this in any possible way. You don't want to see a neighbouring country like Spain being taken advantage of from another power, and all the sort of disruption or sovereignty issues that may arise from that.
But on the other hand, we have heard that 60,000 came across in that amazing influx, but 48 have gone back. 48,000 have gone back. It's not a permanent thing. It's not going to. In other words, are we being alarmist simply because the pictures we're seeing are so dramatic?
Well, we haven't seen people cross as of yet, but we should always be ready and be prepared should something happen. It's no good to wait until it happens. We should be proactive. We should have intelligence ready. We should be prepared should the worst case scenario happen.
So should we send troops?
I think we should, but I think we should send them to Qatar where this is actually happening. Deal with it at the source of the problem.
Yeah, but we can't send troops to Ceuta, can we? It's not our territory.
We could offer assistance to them. There's precedents for this. When Belarus done hostile actions to Poland, we sent the Royal Engineers to the Polish border and helped them maintain law and order in their country. So rather than wait for the problem to reach Gibraltar, I think the people of Gibraltar would be much more happy to see us deal with this away from their territory, where it can't be seen or heard, because the territory is so small, people can only enter by two ways, land or sea. If, worst case scenario, there was a mass land incursion, right next to the border with Spain, there's an active runway which has international flights coming in. There's an RAF base there as well, what has air assets, weapons. We wouldn't want to see people running around a runway with weapons. Wow. There's also, if they come the sea route, that is one of the busiest straits in the world for shipping. Lots of ship stock there because of the fuel is much cheaper than Spain because of the tax regulations when they're going on these long hauls from Gibraltar to the Americas or the United States. We wouldn't want to see a situation where a boat that maybe is stolen from Ceuta goes out, gets struck by a large cargo ship, massive humanitarian crisis in that sort of strait, which then affects global shipping and the world's economy.
Robert, isn't that alarmist?
Perhaps. I do see the words in that, but we have submarines that operate down that strait. We have a Royal Navy presence around Gibraltar. So if they did happen to go within that, the 3 mile radius around Gibraltar, they would be picked up very quickly. There are security concerns that, if there is a dinghy that goes across and there's a nuclear submarine just there, it's not the best idea in the world. I think there's 12,000 people still left in Ceuta. Have they left? How would they get to Spain? The ferry crossing from Morocco to Gibraltar actually suspended about 3 weeks ago, and there's actually very little way that they could actually get across that strait. So perhaps it's a bit alarmist.
All right, you two. Thank you very much indeed. Good to see you. And should you be watching in Gibraltar this morning, good morning to you.
Yes, yeah, good morning, and tell us what you think of that.
Very fond of Gibraltar.
Yeah, it's an amazing
Love going
place,
over. Yeah, I love going over there. It's been a while. I need to head back. Anyway, enough of that. Maybe I should do it if I won the Great British Giveaway, because I get £60,000 in tax-free cash.
No, well, you
if I was allowed to enter.
Yes, exactly.
No.
But you are allowed to enter. Here's how.
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating a golden summer. And you could be enjoying a golden year with an incredible £60,000 to be won. That's tax-free cash that you'll get to spend on anything you like. What would you do with it? You could relax knowing that we've got those day-to-day financial pressures sorted. Or find yourself celebrating in the lap of five-star luxury, somewhere like here, the Spritzeria. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000 that you can keep or gift to a loved one. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box That's 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Time for the sport in a moment.
The sport?
Aidan. Sport. He just said you got to say sport.
Yeah, you have, yeah. Anyway, never mind that. Gianni Infantino has been forced into a climb down from his plans to sell off parts of the World Cup. Find out what it all means for the FIFA president after this break.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
To all of you who voted for GB News to win at the Trick Awards for the 4th year in a row.
The winner is GB News.
Thank you so much for voting for us. It's because of you that we're so proud to be the People's Channel, and it's because of you that we are Britain's news channel.
It's voted for the people who watch us.
Well, we've got the best viewers in the world, haven't we? The most loyal viewers.
Thank you.
All right, Aidan's here. Should we talk about...
ask him about the sport?
Well, yeah, sport. Sport, you've got to say.
Singular.
And the outgoing president of FIFA.
Well, say outgoing. You know,
I think he's screwed.
He'll cling on.
He would disagree with you on that.
Of course
So
he
did
would.
lots of his critics. David Bernstein, the former FA chairman, was interviewed on radio just 24 hours ago, and he said in any normal organisation, then, yeah, of course, his position is untenable. But this is FIFA, and things work differently. How many times did Sepp Blatter survive year after year after year.
I know,
despite
we had
multiple allegations.
But we had two of his key allies coming out yesterday. One resigned and one said, I'm not going to resign, but I expect to be fired for slating how all of this was done.
Yeah, look, there was a leak, so I don't think Infantino can be blamed for that necessarily. Don't forget they employ 5,000 people. So if someone gets wind of it and doesn't like the sound of it, then they're going to brief a journalist, aren't they? I don't think they can necessarily be expected to plug every single hole in the organisation. However, it would have been nice to hear what the proposals actually were, which leads me to think perhaps that they weren't very popular. It probably means more water breaks. Instead of every 25 minutes or every 22 minutes, they're probably every 30 seconds if the advertisers get their way. We might see a World Cup every 2 years, which some would actually support and think was good. But we're only speculating on what the proposals would have been, because he didn't explain them, Infantino. The journalist didn't get a chance to ask any questions because he's not stood in front of or sat in front of the media. No one's even bothered speculating what they might be. I'm just surmising now.
Yeah, but what he did say was all these football federations would get about 30 million quid each, but they have to make a decision by the 19th of September, which is no time at all, and nobody knew what was going on.
No, that's right, and the timing would have been very difficult.
It's corrupt as anything, isn't it?
I'm loath to use that word. But having said that, listen, some would say that a bit of free market flair is exactly what FIFA could benefit from. It's a very stuffy organisation. It's very reactionary. The subordinate organisations are even more reactionary, as we saw this week. But the fact is that organisations or federations like St Vincent's and the Grenadines get the same amount of votes in these ballots as the FA. You give them £30 million, it goes a lot longer there. So it goes a lot further there than it does here in England. Yeah. So that's always been the way. Financial inducements are how FIFA work. In terms of the timing of it, this is, with respect, any other time of year is a back page story. And because we're in silly season, it got on the front page everywhere, not just in this country, but everywhere else. And that hasn't helped FIFA one bit. Also, there was the Donald Trump element to it as well. Yes, was there conversation, were there collusion between him and Infantino? Should we hear from Trump now? This is his press conference yesterday, I believe.
Did FIFA or Mr. Infantino speak to you about their proposal to sell a stake in
No, I never spoke to him.
Mr. President,
He dismissed that. I can't
Yeah, what did he say?
I don't know if I
He said I haven't spoken to Gianni.
Oh, yeah, Gianni.
But why wouldn't you speak to him when the key investor in all of this was Trump's son-in-law's brother?
Yes, I know. It does.
It's all in the family.
It does seem a bit weird, doesn't it?
Who could take over?
Who could take over? Well, look, none of the names you really know. They're kind of much for much the same as the old guy, really. They're just federation heads from some of the organisations around the world. And some would say that there'd all be continuity appointments. Arsene Wenger has been mentioned. He currently works for FIFA. Somebody who understands economics, has a good commercial pedigree, but also has a deep understanding of football and has great respect within the game.
But he's also gone on about every 2 years, hasn't he?
Yeah, but is that a bad thing?
Yeah, because it means the European competition would collapse.
No, I don't think it would. I think the World Club competition might collapse. The problem here with FIFA is that it's not a problem necessarily, but they see all these other governance organisations within sport, IPL, Premier League, FA, etc. They're all effectively run as private organisations who make a profit. They have one tournament, every 4 years, which makes a lot of money, $13.8 billion, I think, is going to burst through that barrier.
As well.
Pardon?
They do other stuff
that makes money. Not stuff that makes money.
But they were on about increasing what they were doing to 400 events, weren't they, over every 4 years?
Yeah, fine, but I'd be interested to see how many of those actually make money. They do have a responsibility for the good of the game to put on certain competitions and tournaments. But if they're making money from enough of them, then they can subsidise the rest of them. Maybe that was the genius behind the idea. We'll never know because it's not been explained. But nonetheless, Arsene Wenger would be a credible alternative. The only thing is he's not getting any younger. He's well into his 70s now. Barack Obama has been suggested. What do you think of that?
He's not going to happen.
You don't? No.
But he doesn't know anything about football.
Neither does Infantino. Let's be honest. I don't think Sepp Blatter knew much about football. These are political people who burst through the framework, which is loaded and stacked. But if you can get there, to our point 2 hours ago, it creates a very powerful individual. Gianni Infantino, in that role, can basically do what he wants. There is no legislative framework.
But
there are no checks and balances.
But it would damage Obama's legacy.
Do you think? What about if he does a good job?
But even so, to be going into that sort of job, he's the former president of the United States. He doesn't need to do that. It damages his legacy.
Possibly, but I'll tell you what, there'll be a queue of people who want to do the job.
Yeah,
I would think so. What's he up to these days?
He just seems to do a lot of talks and writes books and
counting his money.
Does the speeches.
Count his money, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Right, Aidan.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Still think he's on his way out. Fingers crossed.
Well, you'll see. We'll see. Well, it could take forever.
You talking about me?
Well, yeah, and you as well.
Yeah, he's on his way out.
Tell you who's on the way in. Susan Holder and Ella Whelan. They're going to take us through the papers. There they are.
First of all, though, here's the European forecast for you.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. If you're heading away this weekend, plenty of hot and sunny weather across Europe. Very hot across central and eastern areas of Europe with a heat wave ongoing. But it is slightly cooler across some areas of Spain and western France. A few showers across alpine regions and across Italy throughout Sunday. Risk of thunderstorms. And it's turning very hot through the Mediterranean with temperatures climbing towards the high 30s, possibly the low 40s as well. And there's very little change in the forecast with more sunshine on the way.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Let's talk now to showbiz journalist Nelson Aspen and former US House Advisor Lee Cohen about this conversation. Good evening, gentlemen. Nelson, let me start with you. What has Oprah been criticised for here? Because a lot of people have taken a shot at her watching this interaction.
That's right. Oprah is worth well over $3 billion. She does not need to present a retrospective of her greatest moments, but she is obviously desperate to stay relevant. And in this 1.5 hour special, the Harry and Meghan interview comes in at about 15 minutes. And it was obvious that she needs to backpedal. It is obvious that it was the greatest softball display of favoritism in broadcast history, almost.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Temperatures are set to soar again next week as heat health alerts remain in place across large parts of England. So my favourite meteorologist to talk to ever in life is John Ketley. John, good to see you. Looking very suntanned and gorgeous, it has to be said, in matching pink. John, we've got another heat wave on the way.
Surprise, surprise.
Hey, it's summer.
Yeah, it seems to have been a very prolonged summer this year, didn't it? Obviously, it started early. We started with that very hot weather in May, which is unusual. And then we had further hot weather during June and again in July as well. So it seems a little bit different this year. It's been going on for so long. It's almost as if we've been really, the tentacles of Europe have been extending across the UK, and we've turned into a continental regime, really.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's just a fact of life. You know, I'm of the generation, my grandfathers and great uncles all fought in World War II, but my children, you know, that's not a memory for them. They never met anyone who was in the Holocaust, and we have short memories. We're the TikTok generation. We have, you know, 5 seconds worth of attention we put on anything. So I think it's a good step. UNESCO has had some scandals in the past, or at least they've chosen to recognize things that perhaps I don't think are all that significant, but the D-Day beaches I visited myself a few years back, they're very well preserved, by the way, so I'm not sure how much this adds in terms of resources or what it can really do to increase young people's knowledge of history, but it can't be a bad thing, can it?
I mean, it's an amazing story all around, and it's a story that deserves to be told over and over and over again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Here at GB years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, tomorrow is your final day to join us for that day to celebrate Britain. Don't miss out. For more information, scan the QR code on the screen or go to gbnews.com/celebrate.
All right, let's go through the papers for you this morning with the journalists Susan Holder and Ella Whelan. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Can we start, Ella, with the Mail and look at this invasion, which it was, into Ceuta yesterday, because it's how we take this forward, isn't it? Because there seems to be this bit of a panic across the papers. Say, well, there's 60,000 people came in, they're all now going to be on mainland Europe. Well, that isn't the case, but does it mean that we should be beefing up what we've got?
I think it's probably disingenuous to suggest, as the Spanish government has, that just because there's been a significant, most of them have been turned back, that there's sort of nothing to see here. The event in itself is important, and it's interesting that you hesitated around the word invasion, because there has been so much made about the wording around this, and I think probably you can put to bed the sort of nervousness around. In previous times, there's always been politicians have jumped to criticise people using words like swarm or invasion, and rightly so in some cases, because they have negative connotations, but anybody watching that footage can probably use nothing other than the word invasion. And the reason it's important is that, moving forward, the governments have to decide what their priorities are. I mean, this is a direct consequence of Pedro Sanchez deciding in January to grant asylum to illegal migrants. This is, send a very significant, quite clear signal to people who want to come illegally that Spain is a soft touch. And our own government and governments across Europe will have to be looking at their policies and making similar decisions. But I think it also poses an interesting sort of conundrum for European nations, because on the one hand, those who are who are liberal around immigration, who want to be sympathetic, will look at scenes like this, and it is true that a lot of these young men are looking for a better life. They might have had very hard beginnings, all the rest of it. That's true. In conflict with that is the idea of a sovereign nation not having to make its own decisions and defend its own priorities. You've got a conflict there, and you kind of have to pick which side you're on. Yeah. We cannot continue to maintain this sort of very superficial stance around immigration that we just want to be nice. You have to make some tough decisions and decide who comes first. And I think probably a lot of European nations are leaning towards being a little bit stricter on immigration because of the scenes that we've seen here.
Well, also, it's the coordination, isn't it?
Yes.
How do 60,000 people all get up one morning and decide? They don't, do they?
No.
So that's a coordinated thing. And I think that's what frightens me about it, is that you look at that and think, well, how was the intelligence not there? How did they not know? How were people caught out by that? And where else could that give people ideas of, if we just do it en masse, then people don't have... Why are we bothering with small dinghies? Why don't we just get in a big boat? Why don't we just get in a big boat and come over? Why don't they do that? Would we stop them? At the moment, it doesn't look like we would. And then you've got...
We'd escort them in.
Well, and although you've got 48,000 people apparently have returned voluntarily, it still leaves a significant number of people who... on land that has no room for them, with no access to any food and no access to any toilets. What on earth is going on? This is not something that can be, looked at and thought that...
No, in fact, I don't know how that small town of Ceuta is going to cope with it.
Well, they're not going to cope with it. It's going to be awful. And
as you said, no toilets. I mean, sorry to say this at breakfast time, but they're doing what they need to do in the street.
Of course they are. And also, they've come, a lot of them bare-chested and in flip-flops with nothing.
Yeah.
And even if they're the nicest people in the world who need something that they can't find at home, the first thing that's going to happen is looting and stealing just to get what people need to survive.
And that is already happening.
Of course it is.
And it must be terrifying for the people who live there.
Terrifying.
Oh, it's not a happy picture, is it?
No,
look, let's change the tack significantly on this. This is in the Daily Star, Susan, because this gets my goat.
Okay.
This flying the flag business.
Yes.
Because now that, the fact, I still cannot get my head round that we cannot fly our national flag in this country without being criticised.
OK. The thing is...
Unless there's a football match.
What's happened is Oxfordshire County Council have just said that they want to take an injunction to stop unknown people flying flags from places that they're not meant to be. So this isn't anyone stopping you having it in your house or in your garden or on your shop necessarily.
Why can't we have it on a lamppost?
Well, it's not, but because would you want anybody... the argument is, and I will put this argument because I don't think it's a good idea to be able to just shill up a drain pipe or a lamppost and hang whatever you want from there. We wouldn't... It might be... We might think, oh, it's OK because it's that flag. Yeah. But then is it OK if it's another flag or if it's another statement or if it's another message?
Have we seen other flags or anything else go up there?
No, you couldn't you?
Well,
potentially.
Let's be real here. I think if it was sort of, the trans flag or the pro-Palestine flag or anything like that, there probably would have been a different reaction.
I wouldn't want to see that anyway. So for me, the rule should apply to all of those.
I mean, I think Oxfordshire County Council has been very heavy-handed here. And the funny thing is, councils are full of sort of bump around how you own your neighbourhood. It's, we want to involve local residents and this is your home. And then they also have a humongous amount of bureaucracy and red tape stopping people from doing anything spontaneous or authentic. And I mean, like planting flowers on the roadside as well as flying flags. There should be a much more relaxed approach to this, but because it is the national flag and it has this sort of taint of being linked to racism or whatever, which is a nonsense, and we have Prime Ministers Keir Starmer and now Andy Burnham talking about the importance of being patriotic. You would think that governments and politicians from at any level would be sort of, inspiring what they want to see, which is a sense of national pride.
When I drive around and I see just random flags being, from a lamppost here or painted on an island, it strikes me as an antagonistic act.
No, I disagree entirely.
It gladdens your heart to see it.
Yeah, I drove through, when all this was kicking off a while ago, I remember driving through Newport Pagnell, every little mini roundabout was painted. And I loved it. Okay. I thought it looked absolutely fantastic. They've all gone back.
But I think even if it was antagonistic, that is even if you were to agree with you, that's an important thing because it's the fact that I'm from an Irish background. It's not exactly like I'm the biggest flag waver, but you can understand that there's this sort of quite substantial row happening about the sort of soul of the nation and what we represent and what we should be proud of. And if you've got people coming out saying, well, actually, I want to stake my identity on this flag or something, that shouldn't be ignored. It certainly shouldn't be ripped down by the council.
All right, you two. There we must leave it. Thank you very much indeed. See you later.
And right now it's time for the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. A few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland, to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well,
Welcome to Orla Santi by Domes Resorts, where we're celebrating with an incredible £60,000 to be won. Plus, we'll give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Costello. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Is Europe's latest migration crisis a wake-up call for Britain's borders?
Well, Andy Burnham is under pressure to strengthen UK border security after 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta in just 24 hours.
Well, the Conservatives and Reform are warning some of those people could eventually make their way to Britain.
So the obvious question is the government doing enough to protect the UK's borders?
Buenos dias from Ceuta. We are here on the African-Spanish EU border where 60,000 people fled across, flooding this town before 48,000 went home. We'll have more throughout the programme.
And to have the resounding victory that we've had just fills me with confidence, really, that people in Greater Manchester believe that we have been making a great difference and want to see us building on the legacy of what we've created and go even further.
Manchester wakes up with a new mayor this morning. Labour's Bev Craig is elected, succeeding Andy Burnham.
Plans for China's controversial new embassy in London have cleared another hurdle after the High Court has rejected a legal challenge.
Gianni Infantino has bowed to intense and widespread pressure by scrapping his controversial plan to sell off stakes in the World Cup. It leaves the FIFA president clinging to his job as the head of world football's governing body.
Good morning. A dry weekend for most of us, so a few showers across more northwestern areas to start today and into Sunday. I'll have all the details for you a little later on.
It's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, has... Oh, where are you? Oh, you're over there. Look at that. That's a very slow shot moving in.
Hi.
But there you go. Anyway, I wanted to just crack on with the main news because it's quite important. I mean, we want to get to Doogie Beattie, who's actually in Ceuta at the moment. But Prime Minister Andy Burnham has been urged to beef up our borders after those 60,000 migrants crossed into the Spanish exclave of Ceuta from Morocco. The PM says it's not directly his concern.
I mean, obviously, that's a matter for the Spanish government first and foremost, but it is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
Meanwhile, Italy has said that it is suspending the EU's border-free Schengen arrangements with Spain in response to that mass influx that we saw yesterday of migrants into Ceuta from Morocco.
Now, Italy hasn't got a land border with Spain, but the measure will impact people travelling by plane or boat between the two countries.
Well, GB News reporter Doogie Beattie is right there in the middle of it all. He joins us now from Ceuta. Doogie.
Well, hello, Anne. Hello, Stephen. And yes, this is one very beautiful spot. But if you could just see down behind me there, you'll see the Spanish army looking. That is, believe it or not, the border. And this documentation, this agreement that came in, anybody arriving by sea was welcomed in Spain. That was what these immigrants thought that ruling meant. Well, you can see they just jumped off the pier on one side, swam around the beach and the rocks on the other side, and they were into the EU. That has been the problem. And over 60,000 of them arrived yesterday. Now, what the Spanish did was immediately bring in the army. They had to cross from just outside Gibraltar in boats, and there is a big presence of the Spanish army and police in this town at this moment. And they basically closed the town down. No toilets open, no hotels, no supermarkets, nothing, which then caused some of these people to go on the rampage, saying that they were looking for water, they were looking for clothing, and it seemed to have worked. Or was it that Giorgia Meloni said the Schengen Agreement is suspended, and all of a sudden things changed? Make your mind up on that yourself. But quite basically, 48,000 of them went back home this morning and late last night, and there still leaves quite a number in the town. I mean, we have seen them all in and around this area. You can just see some of them now leaving, being escorted by the Spanish army. The situation here, I must say, is still very tense. There is quite a few of them up on the hills in front of us and behind us, and they are almost waiting for facilities to open once more and try to claim citizenship or refugee status here, and then travel on to just across there, about an hour in a boat. This is the very narrowest point between Spain and Africa, and you can imagine it is quite easy to get over there. I mean, we crossed this morning, and once they get into Spanish territory and are given refugee status, then they can go on through Europe. It's where they go after that that is the worry inside Europe, because of course, if you can just see over there through those trees, that actually is the North African border into the EU. So that causes a problem, because beyond that is loads of countries. You can go to the Middle East, you can go into Africa itself, and of course that's a massive route to get into the EU. So we do wonder this morning, is there political pressure? If you could just shoot round there again, you can see loads and more of these men, and they are all young men, it must be said. Every one of them. I have yet to see a woman or a child go through there, and they have caused real damage in this area over the last 2 days until the Spanish security forces arrived in serious numbers. So, you know, you can take what you want out of that, but these young men were looking away into Europe, and no doubt quite a few of them would have arrived on our shores in Britain. And for me, being from the island of Ireland, of course, we are separated. Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but we've seen how porous that border is on the Irish border. If lots of these people had have got in, would have got into the Republic of Ireland and then travelled freely through the Republic into Northern Ireland and then back into Britain. So it is one to watch over the next few days. The police and army are here, but they are taking a gentle approach to this rather than heavy-handedness and forceful approach. So in the next few days, we will watch and see what is happening. But it was definitely organised.
Yeah, it would seem so. Doogie, thanks very much indeed. Let's talk to Nigel Evans, should we? Former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons. Morning, Nigel. Nice to see you. Are we meant to be concerned about this in the sense that it is not clear at this stage if any of these people are going to make it to mainland Europe? I mean, there's been legislation in Spain, but the Spanish Prime Minister seems to be rowing back on quite a lot of that at the moment. So how much concern should we have?
I think deep concern. We've got our own government who are prevaricating over whether to call it an invasion or not. And Stephen, you quite rightly called it earlier an invasion. The people who live in Ceuta, there's 80,000 people live there. They've called it an invasion. When you get 50 to 60,000 coming in just one day, the equivalent would be 35 million people coming into the United Kingdom in a day. That is how bad it happens to be. And part of the problem, of course, is that the people who are going into Ceuta don't want to stay in Ceuta. They want to get into Spain so that then they're in the Schengen area and then they can spread round throughout the whole of the Schengen area. And we also know that a number of them will be wanting to make their way up north towards the United Kingdom. They'll want to do the boat crossings there. They've seen how successful it's been for thousands of people this year alone. And the great fear for us, of course, is that they will want to come to the UK. Andy Burnham, I've got to say, Stephen, I looked through his account today, his X account, and it's great that we know whether he likes pork scratchings or scampi fries. And it's great that we know he knows the difference between a barm cake and a bun. But there is absolutely nothing about the immigration into the United Kingdom by these illegals and the threat that this is now going to have, these people coming into Ceuta with a clear design not to stay there, but to come into the European Union as well. I think it's absolutely crazy. And Andy Burnham has said to the Spanish Prime Minister that he will give assistance. Well, I've got to say, this is a Prime Minister who hasn't got a grip on the illegals coming into the United Kingdom. I'm just scratching my head, wondering what he's possibly going to offer the Spanish Prime Minister.
We just heard our reporter there say that there's no doubt this enormous influx of people yesterday into Ceuta was organised. Who do you blame for what happened yesterday?
Well, hello, Anne. A number of people, really. Number one, the Spanish Prime Minister for saying to those who've come illegally into Spain over many years that 500,000 of them will now be made citizens of Spain, therefore they'll get full access to the European Union. And then, of course, it's the Spanish High Courts which have said that anybody entering into Ceuta from water cannot be stopped and turned back. And so that ruling on its own has led to people coming both into Ceuta and Melilla, which is another Spanish enclave in Morocco. I know there's speculation to say that the Moroccan government themselves are quite happy to see these people go, but I've seen no evidence of that. And of course, as we know, some of those people who got into Ceuta have now been returned into Morocco.
I mean, to be fair, though, on that legislation, the Spanish government says that ruling restricts immediate pushbacks at sea, so literally pushing them back out. And a lot of them, of course, are swimming across. They're not in boats. But it doesn't prevent the legal deportation or expulsion of those people once they've got on shore.
No, that's right. But the wrong signal, Stephen, I think has led to these 50 to 60,000 people coming into Ceuta in the first place. I mean, it must be devastating for them. And of course, what it's done is it's reopened the argument about illegal immigration into the European Union generally. We've never seen a situation where the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, has actually suspended freedom of movement into Italy, now coming from Spain. The same with France, that they're putting extra checks on the border, and other countries are saying that Spain should be suspended from the Schengen area. I find it quite remarkable that we will have thousands of British people queuing to go into EU countries that are part of Schengen, queuing up for an hour and a half to get through border control, whilst you've got literally thousands of people entering a part of the European Union because they've seen the back door has been opened to coming in. I think it's absolutely absurd. And as I say, I've got to reinforce, I want to hear from the British Prime Minister what he's going to do to put extra safeguards to ensure that these people, we don't know who they are, well, we're looking at all the footage that I've seen on GB News, they look to be young men aged roughly between 18 and 30. We don't know whether they've got criminal records. We just simply know nothing about them. And all I know is that they don't want to stay in Ceuta. They're using Ceuta as the backdoor entrance into the European Union. And if they do get across there, they could end up anywhere.
Do you think there's any real material threat to Gibraltar?
Oh, there's got to be. I find it rather concerning that the Chief Minister of Gibraltar, Fabian Picardo, all he said to the citizens there is keep calm. Well, of course they're not going to keep calm when they switch on GB News and have a look to see exactly what is the invasion of a part of Spain, which is only 10 miles away over water from Gibraltar itself. I mean, part of the problem, as you know, is that earlier this year, the fixed border between Gibraltar and the rest of Spain was dismantled as part of some deal that the British government has done between Spain and Gibraltar. They seem to be quite happy about that. The only people who are now being checked coming into Gibraltar will be the Brits coming in, flying into Gibraltar. I mean, it is absurd. But yes, it's got to be deeply concerning that people will be able, once they're into Spain, just walk into Gibraltar.
OK. Nigel, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
And that's certainly true about, comparing that with ordinary people's journeys at the moment into the EU at the moment. You can be queuing for ages and ages. And when you think you've got through one queue, you're faced with another and another. It could go on and on. It's horrible.
It is very interesting because the problem with it is that people will say, well, that's what you voted for. That's as a direct result of Brexit. And the same for that, as Nigel says, the only people who have any problems getting into Gibraltar now, which is a British overseas territory, are people flying in from Britain because they're part of Schengen and we're now not. Obviously, we're not. But that's sort of what we voted for. I mean, it doesn't seem right, does it? It seems utterly ridiculous.
It is wrong, and they say it'll get better, but...
I haven't ventured through the checks yet. I've got
that
to do later this year.
I can't tell you how soul-destroying it is.
I know the queues are just
And even on the way back, you think you've got into the country, you've had your holiday, and then the queues on the way back are so awful that I remember turning to my sister and saying, this has spoiled our whole holiday. Your memories of a lovely, relaxing holiday are back there now. All you're doing is facing a queue. It takes ages to get to the front. And then there's another queue around the corner. You have to join that one as well. And then another. There's a queue for absolutely everything, and it seems... And half the machines don't work, or they don't like your fingerprints, or whatever it is, and there's no explanation. So as soon as you've got to the front of the queue and your little fingerprint thing doesn't work, or your eyes don't work, or whatever it is, you then get sent to the back of another queue.
I don't know why they need all that information on us when they didn't need it before, particularly. I mean, I know they say, well, it's because we're not part of Schengen. I know, but it seems to be a bit overkill, really. Anyway...
Blame it on the computers.
Right, in other news this morning, Gianni Infantino has scrapped FIFA's controversial plans to sell stakes in a company running the World Cup after fierce opposition from UEFA and other major football confederations, and also, it's got to be said, a load of his own team as well, who said they weren't told anything about it. Apparently, Mr Infantino is now saying it appeared to be creating divisions rather than uniting the game.
Construction of a new Chinese super embassy in London can go ahead now after a High Court challenge against a decision to grant planning permission was dismissed.
And the Prince and Princess of Wales will join spectators at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow as the tournament draws to a close. William and Catherine will watch events on the penultimate day.
coming up to 17 minutes past 9. Let's get a check on the weather, shall we? Here's Annie Shuttleworth.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. A few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. It's a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland, to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a chilly feel to start the day on Sunday here. Elsewhere, plenty of clear skies. As I said, a bit of mist and fog. Towns and cities just about double digits, but rurally could be down into the mid single figures to start the day on Sunday, particularly across the north and east. There's a change on Sunday to wetter conditions by the end of the day, but lots of sunshine ahead of that. Perhaps a little less sunshine compared to Saturday for some of us, but it's going to still feel quite warm. We're starting to pick up some warmer air once again through Sunday, so temperatures climbing towards the higher 20s. And on Monday, it's set to be a little bit warmer once again. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Do stay with us. Still to come, Manchester has woken up to a new mayor this morning as Labour's Bev Craig is elected, succeeding Andy Burnham, of course. We'll talk about that coming up.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First of all, say welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, there is a new mayor of Greater Manchester. Not another one, it's Bev Craig this time. She's been announced winner, defeating Reform UK's Sian Astley, who came in second.
Yes, turnout, though, was really low, down to a stark 25%. This marks the lowest recorded since the mayoralty was actually created in 2017. Hundreds of thousands of voters, therefore, we suppose, chose to stay at home.
Yeah, it is, though, a big news story and a good news story for the Prime Minister, because there's lots of questions about what would happen if he stepped down from this job. Would it be a big in for reform? What would the implications of all that be? Anyway, it's all gone his way, hasn't it? Olivia Utley is here. I mean, this is, however you look at it, it's a success story for Andy Burnham.
Well, it's certainly a big relief for Andy Burnham. Labour were expected to win the Manchester mayoralty. It is a very Labour city. But if Reform had managed to scrape a win, and of course remember that just a few months ago in those local elections, Reform were doing very, very well in that part of the world. If Reform had managed to defeat Labour, it would have been terrible for Andy Burnham. That mayoralty election, which of course was unnecessary, Andy Burnham should still be the mayor of Manchester, has cost the taxpayer £5 million. So if Labour hadn't won, it would have been... The story would have been that Andy Burnham had chosen personal ambition over party, country and city. As it is, he's managed to win. He'll be breathing a sigh of relief. Well, I should say Bev Craig has managed to win, the new mayor of Manchester. She won decisively in the end, 300,000 votes to Sian Astley's 150,000. The fly in the ointment is the turnout, just 25%. That is very, very low, even for a metro mayoralty where turnout isn't usually high. Why is that? Well, there could be an element of people are fed up of voting in elections. They feel as though Andy Burnham betrayed them. I think there's also an element of, because the airways, all the news is being taken up with our new Prime Minister and his new policies, this Manchester mayoralty election has gone under the radar somewhat. The other slightly controversial issue here is the fact that Labour changed the voting system in Manchester just last month. Reform accused them of rushing through these changes in order to get their win. We went from a first-past-the-post system in Manchester, similar to what we have at general elections, to a second preferences. So basically, Labour managed to sweep up all the second preferences of anyone who votes in that kind of left-wing bloc. So people who voted for the Greens and the Liberal Democrats were likely to put Labour as their second choice. And actually, Bev Craig didn't manage to secure a win on first votes alone and was dependent on those second preferences. So that does make it a little bit harder for her. Let's just have a listen to what she has to say.
So look, I'm incredibly pleased. I started this campaign when the only poll in the field showed me on 33% and Reform on 30%. To be able to hit 47% in the first round and to have the resounding victory that we've had just fills me with confidence, really, that people in Greater Manchester believe that we have been making a great difference and want to see us building on the legacy of what we've created and go even further.
Now, in your speech there, you said you're going to serve every single resident every single day. Talk to us a bit about how you're going to do that.
So, look, I think for me, I've run on a platform that talks about what it means to have a good life in Greater Manchester. A home you can afford, a town centre that you're proud of, making policy decisions that put more money in people's pockets, like free buses for 11 to 18-year-olds that give families up to 500 quid each. You know, these are practical things that I don't think are driven by ideology, but are driven by the fact that everybody in every town, village and city in Greater Manchester wants to live a good life, and they're the kinds of things that I think mayors should be doing, and they're the kind of priorities that I'll have as mayor. And I worked really closely with Andy. You know, as leader of the council, I was his deputy property, on all of the economic growth and the good growth work that we try to do right across the city region. You know, so of course Labour doing well in the polls, doing better than they've been able to time is a great thing. I am a Labour politician after all. But I also think the margin of victory that we see shows that there's something else that's deeper here in Greater Manchester, and that broadly people don't want somebody that's going to come in and tear everything up, but actually build on the legacy and the successes that we were trying to create, go further.
There we go. That is Bev Turner. It does sound as though she wants to continue in Andy Burnham's footsteps. I mean, well, she might. He's done pretty well out of the job. Of course, Bev Turner.
She'd like to be mayor of Manchester.
Only other Bev I know. Bev Craig could have a bit of a tricky time in that she only has 300,000 votes. There are 5 million people living in Manchester, and she might just be about to be given a whole lot more power. Andy Burnham's promised some sort of devolution, which will give, we don't quite know the percentages, but allow mayors to hold on to a percentage share of the income tax that they raise in their region. That means that the Manchester mayoralty has suddenly become a much, much bigger job.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Olivia, thanks very much indeed.
Interesting, because we don't know an awful lot about her, but I guess...
We will find out.
Maybe it'll all go quiet from Manchester now.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, Manchester's been the centre of the... Well, maybe it is going to be the centre of the universe, still with Andy in number 10.
Yes, number 10 North. Yes,
We will
he's going to dominate everything.
Do stay with us. Still to come, Aidan is standing by with all your sports news.
Absolutely, loads going on. Gianni Infantino has been forced into a climb down from his plans to sell off parts of the World Cup. Find out what it means for the FIFA president after this short break.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray,
Are you a human trafficker?
boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All right, Aidan's got the sport. Go on then.
What next for Gianni? That's what you.
Well, I think he's got to be done for, surely.
Well, I think, as you say, it looks like he's untenable. I think he will fight tooth and nail to cling on to his job. I think part of that strategy involved climbing down from his position. It would have been nice to know what these proposals are, but there was no detail. We saw the statement overnight which said that, and I've got it here actually, it said that having listened carefully to all the views, it's become clear that the project has created divisions of a nature that, regardless of the level of support, are no longer in the interest or the objective set out in the first place. As a result, the proposal will not proceed. Proposal? What proposal? We don't know what.
We don't know, actually.
You know, it's bizarre, isn't it? And nobody asked any questions of it. He brought forward the vote to September the 19th, which is a bit sharp practice, as we used to call it in the legal profession. I would also say that I don't think this is a normal organisation. I think that anywhere else he will quit, but he will try and cling on. Much in the greatest traditions of FIFA. That's what Sepp Blatter did. That's what Jan Havelange used to do as well. They clung on. There have only been about 4 or 5 FIFA presidents in the lifetime of the organisation, but the timing didn't help them either. They didn't help them because this is a back page story, respectfully. It shouldn't be a front page story. It is because it's silly season. But I don't think his position is tenable. I think I've never known a situation before where pretty much all the confederations around the world have pulled out and leaving him on his own. Even his special advisors are beginning to leave as well. They're leaving him increasingly isolated. But the ego of the man suggests to me he'll try to cling on.
Has he got too close to Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think he probably has. He's also got too much power. And there are no checks and balances. There's no legislative framework within FIFA. And once you breach through that top-heavy management structure, you're on your own. You can do what the hell you like. You can change the rules of tournaments halfway through on a whim. Which is basically what he did.
It's crazy.
It is what he did.
It is. But having said that, he has delivered commercially for the organisation. But they want to hold this big thing called the World Cup, which, by the way, makes the Champions League look small. And they turned over £13.8 billion. That's what the projection is going to be. They want to hold this event every 2 years instead of...
It's meant to be a non-profit organisation, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of, but so's the FA.
How do you reckon that?
So's the FA. So's the FA, but it makes money.
He's got 2.7 billion in the bank at the moment. He earns £5 million a year.
Yeah.
If this deal had gone through, he would have made £1 million a week.
Yeah.
Apparently. I mean,
good money, isn't it?
None of that smells right, does it? I mean,
No,
it doesn't smell right.
I know, it doesn't. But then, look, say he got through, say he decided to pursue this and go headlong into it. 4 years down the line, would UEFA really have pulled out 55 countries from a World Cup? How dare explain that to all those nation-states?
I think they should have done.
Well, we'll never get to it. Trust me, there'll be a World Cup in 4 years' time.
You've got to stand on your principles, haven't you?
I guess so. Can we talk briefly about Jack Draper? I've not mentioned him today.
No.
A great hope for men's tennis 2 years ago. He got to the semi-final of the US Open. He lost to Yannick Sinner, no disgrace in that, an elite player, as we know.
What is it? This persistent injury?
Yeah, it's an arm injury. It's an arm injury. He's going to have surgery. He's put him out of the last few tournaments. He's not been himself for the last year or so. Do you remember that he had a problem?
Oh, he was sick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was sick on the court. He seems to have been beset by injuries, but this is a persistent one, and he's basically saying that surgery may not cure it completely. That doesn't mean he's going to drift out of the game. But we remember Patrick Rafter in the early 2000s. He did actually manage his shoulder complaint over a period of time with a combination of surgery and injury management and advances in sports science. But having said that, this is a different injury. It's a different era. We don't know the extent of it. I don't think the surgeons know the extent of it. But it's a real worry because, as I say, he was going to be a big hope for tennis. Cam Norrie's playing well at the moment. He beat Bernard Tomic yesterday, but I don't think he's a long-term hope for British tennis. Let's hope Arthur Ferry can carry the flag going forward.
Yes, he's all right at the moment.
He is,
doing very well.
It's a real shame for him.
I know it is. I know.
If it really rules him out.
So I don't suppose anything's happening in tennis for a while now, is it?
We've got the US Open next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not...
US Open is next month.
Yeah, he's not going to be in that. I don't think Emma Raducanu is going to be in it either. There's an injury complaint there as well.
What's going on with Mudrich?
Well, he was banned for failing a drugs test, and he hasn't played competitively since November 2024.
It's the best part of 2 years.
I know. Well, he was part of a bidding war between Chelsea and Arsenal, and Arsenal were so disappointed to miss out. This was in 2023. He cost £70 million. He never looked like a £70 million player to me. And so that's why when he got banned, no one really cared. But inexplicably, not inexplicably, unexpectedly, and under the radar, he's won his appeal to play. So he's eligible to play for Chelsea in the new season. I'm not sure he will have much of a future there. I'm not sure the manager really rates him. But who knows? There's a new manager in. It's a clean slate. He might get back on. But it follows on a trend of sports stars in recent years having their bans overturned or reduced.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, if they feel like it's not been done justly.
No, but this is different because it's been overturned. But there have been other ones in tennis where the offence was proven, but the Yannick Sinner, for example, was allowed to dictate the terms of his own ban. I don't think that's good for tennis. We saw what happened with athletics in the 80s. It was tarred by doping scandals, and eventually, quietly, the broadcasters pulled away, and that's why you don't see.
And it's a black cloud that sort of still hangs over him, isn't it?
Yannick Sinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was in 2025.
If you ask people about Yannick Sinner, it's the first thing they say.
I know. When he won Wimbledon in 2025, Iga Swiatek won the women's title, women's singles title as well. And I think it was Nick Kyrgios, no stranger to controversy. He just tweeted or put a post on X, just asterisk, which usually means yes, you won, but there's an asterisk next to it. But explanation needed. Yeah. You're a drugs cheat.
Gosh. You don't
it's been great to see you
anymore.
Has it? Oh, very good. Are you in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Of course, it's Sunday tomorrow. I was thinking it was Monday. I've completely lost track of the day.
Saturday today. So you've got something on this afternoon.
I have, yeah. I'm trying to save the Park Tavern, the local pub in Southfields, just near Wimbledon. I'm being backed by the Labour MP for Putney, Fleur Anderson. I've dedicated my match sponsorship to the campaign. My nephew is going to be the mascot for Queen's Park Rangers. Ooh. And it's going to be a big day in my life, really.
Yeah,
one of the biggest days of my life. I'm really pretty proud of sponsoring that match.
So you're in tomorrow?
I'm in tomorrow, yeah. Don't worry about that. I'll show you the menu.
Bring us some pictures.
Yeah, menu. It's all about the food.
Korean wraps, apparently.
Oh, there you go. You enjoy.
Yeah, I will.
Paid for it.
Yeah.
Right, Aidan. See you in the morning.
OK, well, in a couple of moments, we'll be looking through the newspapers with Susan Holder and Ella Whelan. Right now, though, here is the European forecast for you.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. If you're heading away this weekend, plenty of hot and sunny weather across Europe. Very hot across central and eastern areas of Europe with a heat wave ongoing. But it is slightly cooler across some areas of Spain and western France. A few showers across alpine regions and across Italy throughout Sunday. Risk of thunderstorms. And it's turning very hot through the Mediterranean with temperatures climbing towards the high 30s, possibly the low 40s as well. And there's very little change in the forecast with more sunshine on the way.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
This is really exciting. We've got 1 million people living with dementia in this country, and about 65%, 70% of them have Alzheimer's disease. This is a condition where a protein called amyloid beta builds up in plaques within the brain and interferes with the connection of nerve cells. It's a cruel disease, as I know you're aware. It robs families of the relative that they once loved, the personality that they knew, and it's the leading cause of death in this country. So, numbers are only increasing as the ageing population grows. But here we have in phase 3 clinical trials, which is the last stage of trials before a regulatory body approves it for use, which appears to clear some of these plaques within a few weeks. Now, that's really exciting.
GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
What does this kind of day mean to you, kind of coming and doing this every year?
Well, I feel that I'm doing this for my wife because she used to sell poppies properly, really, and I used to help her for 20 odd years. And I feel like I'm doing it for her, really. But it is nice to think that everybody appreciate what we did for being in the forces.
But tell me about your service, because you got sent out to the Far East, didn't you?
Yes. I just got engaged because I didn't think I was going to get called up, but then I did.
In your jacket here, you've got one medal for national service and one for that Hong Kong medal for that.
To be honest, I was 18 years old. And I was very excited about going. It was an adventure to me.
The People's Channel. Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Weight loss jabs could help children as young as 6 who are living with obesity. When did we start saying living with obesity? Can we not say obese children? Is that not politically correct? Well, delighted to be joined now by Sarah LeBrock, Director of All About Obesity. Sarah, I think a lot of people will feel slightly uneasy about children getting on these jabs, simply because we sort of expect, I don't know, diets to be managed by parents.
Yeah, I can totally understand why people would think that. But the point we're not talking about just overweight children here. We're talking about children living with obesity. And interestingly, you say, why do we say living with obesity? It's because they're living with a chronic condition.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Right, it's time to go through the newspapers now with Susan Holder and Ella Whelan. Right, well, thank you very much.
Yes, here we go. We've got a list. Oh, I've got all of Susan's notes.
No,
We don't need her here. I know what she's going to say.
But Susan, you wanted to talk about the Amanda Knox documentary, is it?
Well, no, actually, it's more than that. So Amanda Knox is kind of back in the news. If you can't remember who Amanda Knox is, about 20 years ago, she was...
Is it that long?
It is. It is. She's 39 and it happened when she was 20. I know, that's why I'm describing it for people who don't remember that. There will be viewers not even born. So she was convicted of the murder of her friend Meredith Kircher when they were in Italy working there. And I just like to have that there, even though I'm not going to look at it.
No, it's fine.
And she is back in the news because she was acquitted, fully acquitted, and the person who did commit that murder did go to prison, although they're back out again now, obviously, because...
But it was her and her boyfriend.
Her boyfriend were accused. Raphael Solicito, I think, well remembered.
But because they were cleared and then reconvicted.
Correct.
And then cleared again.
And fully acquitted again. It was a very complicated... Now, it's a very interesting case, it's a very complicated case, and she does, I would say, have the right to tell her story. Her life was obviously devastated by what happened. There is currently an ITVX 8-part drama on, which I have watched a bit of, co-produced with Monica Lewinsky, interestingly. And I've watched it. The tone of it is strange. I find, for such a dramatic story, it's quite whimsical, it's quite rom-commy. The very kind of main character energy that Amanda Knox brings to kind of everything that she does is a little bit why she sort of got into trouble in the first place.
Yes.
Because she
wasn't a sympathetic character.
People kind of viewed her as that. The more interesting is the Saturday interview in the papers today, in the Daily Telegraph, is all about not only is this 8-part drama where she is telling her point of view of the story going on ITVX at the moment, she's bringing a comedy show. She's a stand-up comedian now, and she's bringing a comedy show to the Edinburgh Fringe. Now, her argument is that this was the way she would have gone had this not happened to her, that she was into musical theatre and drama and everything else. But it's a weird one. If I was in Edinburgh, would I go and see it? Probably. I think it sounds quite interesting. Would I laugh? I don't know until I saw it. I do feel the Meredith Kircher's family have said this is appalling and terrible. And the show is called Cartwheel, because one of the things she was accused of was doing cartwheels in the police station. She says she didn't do cartwheels, but she did do the splits. And that sort of sums up the whole Amanda Knox paradox for me, is that she has got a right to kind of obviously put her story out there.
She has.
And that's what and it is fascinating. But every time she does it, there's always this level of, she says, people find me unsettling.
But isn't that interesting?
I know why.
That Monica Lewinsky has been involved in the production, because I've read a lot on Monica Lewinsky. I've never actually met her, but I've met people who have, and she is a very impressive young, older woman. Actually, she's young, isn't she anymore? But apparently, she is very, very impressive. And of course, she is very much about having to live past a terrible thing that happened in your life. You have to get through it and build yourself another career,
which is fine. But she was getting past a president of the United States. Amanda Knox, and I agree, she's got a right to tell a story. Does. But what this does is shade out Meredith Kircher.
Yes, it does. And the headline on the front page of the Telegraph is, Meredith would find my show funny. Well, How would you know that the woman was murdered?
Yeah, I mean, the test will be whether or not she gets an audience and whether or not they think it's good. And there's too much censorship in comedy at the moment, so let it run and let's see what happens. But, you know, there's the other side to this is, you know, there's no necessity for you to be famous. And there is a sort of level of those. There are people who go through significant things in their lives, be they good or ill, but who, you know, find it very hard to go off quietly, enjoy their life with their kids.
But isn't she famous
I probably would advise her to do that rather than...
Amanda Knox is kind of, you know, she was called Foxy Knox. If you said, my name is Amanda Knox, people would know who she was. So maybe she owning that. I can, you know, I think you can go both ways on it. It's very interesting, very interesting.
I don't know why you wouldn't just want to disappear. But also, I think
why should she just... Because that's not the person she is.
But I think it's an interesting indictment about how we view things, because it was all about Foxy Knoxy this case, and not about Raffaele Sollecito, who was equally accused, and then he's just sort of quietly vanished, and the headlines were never about him. It was always about the evil woman.
Yes, and she's always made that argument that there was a huge amount of bias against her, and there still remains.
Yes.
But on the other hand, the idea that she's just doing this sort of, I don't know, one-woman battle to fight against sexism is not true. I mean, there is saying that Meredith would have found my show funny is a kind of headline-grabbing thing that you could probably have left out of your press interview.
Yeah, but she will have been asked, what do you think Meredith would think?
She will have been,
And she's answered the question that was put to her, and it makes a headline.
Yeah, she has a story to tell.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
Can we have a look at one of your stories?
Yes, but there's a really interesting one in the Star. It's all over social media as well. Most places are covering it, about Brian Johnson, the guy who has, you know, made himself famous for trying to live forever, or trying to prolong his life.
This is the bloke who's been injecting his son's blood
plasma into him, and has got a very... He looks absolutely bizarre. I mean, that's the main thing for me. He just looks kind of alien-like. But it's this he is the extreme example of our very modern preoccupation of trying to live forever and you know, doing very odd things in the pursuit of longevity. And I mean, maybe you want to call it karma, whatever it is, but he's through this process of doing all these very extreme physical things, you know, just specific dieting, specific exercise regimes, and injecting himself with all kinds of things. He's got this gastro condition now, which he will live with for life, and it's very awful. And he's said, I've gone too far. Now, Brian Johnson's obviously an oddball and a weirdo, but it does make you sort of reflect and ask questions about our relationship with health, because to a lesser extent, there are lots of people who do sort of similar things to him, whether it's, you know, I find all these middle-aged men doing these ultra marathons and all the rest of it is a very, very odd thing. You know,
it's a bit of a midlife crisis, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, nobody wants to get old, look old, even though those who try to stop getting old and looking old look really weird.
There is apparently a club of eccentric millionaires, and I mean really very, you know, like billionaires. They've bought an island off the American coast somewhere, which means that under law they can't be prosecuted for doing all sorts of weird things to themselves to try and prolong their lives.
Right.
They've actually deliberately gone out of American jurisdiction where they would be stopped with injecting certain things, and they are making it their life's thing to try and find out how to live forever.
But I mean, that obviously sounds very strange, but if you think about our sort of ordinary lives, and here I'm going to go all sort of like anti-nanny state, but we have at the moment, particularly within the NHS, this idea that there is the main goal of everyone's life. It's not to just be healthy, but it's longevity and cutting all your pleasures now for that extra few years later. Maybe that's a good thing, but on the other hand, I think we're losing sight of what quality of life is, whether that's having that smoke or having that extra dessert or having that pint. And I think we kind of lost the balance.
There's a balance to be struck with it all. There is, and I just think if you can make it to an age where I was thinking my grandma, she was 91, and she was ready to go.
Yeah.
She was just ready to go at that point. And you just think, well, what a nice position to be in.
It's always been the case, and especially people who kind of want to get themselves in the news. I remember doing a programme 35 years ago with a group of people who came on a discussion programme that we were having in the Midlands who called themselves the Immortals, and they'd cracked it, and they actually would live forever.
Are they all dead now?
Well, for 35 years later, they can't be found, so that's why, I'll leave that one up to you. Interesting.
It's a shame when that's the most important thing to you is...
Well, they're snake oil salesmen, aren't they, some of them?
Yeah. Can we
preying on people's fears.
Can we just mention The Odyssey?
Yes.
Yes, so...
Is that a wonderful film or not?
I've been to see it. I thought it was excellent.
You liked it?
I loved it. But the story in the Telegraph is about the fact that lots of people have been going to the IMAX shows or these big fancy productions where the sound is too loud. There are certain cinemas, you know, where there's other stuff is happening. We've seen videos on social media. I don't know if it's fake or not about seats shaking during the boat scenes.
There is a lot of story about the fact that people are complaining and need earplugs to watch it. If you're watching it in like an IMAX or a Dolby studio, I have to say, I haven't seen it, but my son did go, and my son is a qualified Dolby Atmos engineer and a sound technician, and he did not complain about the sound. But I think it does depend sometimes on where you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great film. I should go and see it, but it's causing a lot of controversy. Me and my mum are rowing about it because she's very knowledgeable about Homer and the Odyssey, and says it's interesting. The Telegraph says that people are complaining. What did the Cyclops say? I couldn't hear. Well, in the poem itself, there's quite a lot more discussion than is in Nolan's film. So it's a good one to watch if you're going to row with it with your family.
There you go. It has made millions as well.
All right, you two. Thank you very much indeed. It's been good to see you.
But on that millions note, time for the Great British Giveaway now. Here's how to try for yours. So that's not quite a million, but it's 60,000 in tax-free cash and a gold bar.
One person is guaranteed to win over £65,000 worth of gold and cash. And that person could be you. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all as Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, and that's it from us too. Up next, it's Olivia and Charlie. Good morning.
Good morning. We'll be starting the programme in Ceuta with our correspondent Dougie Beattie getting all the latest there and what this means for Europe and Britain amid that migration crisis.
And we'll be talking about the new Manchester mayor. It is a sigh of relief for our new Prime Minister, but there's a fly in the ointment. All of that and much more after your weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Warm sunshine for many of us through today, though a little bit cooler than it has been earlier on this week. A few showers still for more northwestern areas as well. So a bit of a cloudier start across parts of western Scotland in particular. Some of these showers will push further east into eastern Scotland, some eastern areas of northern England. Perhaps the odd shower in the far north of Wales, but for many parts of England and Wales it should remain pretty dry through much of today. Plenty of sunshine as well. UV levels will be high and it will still feel quite hot in the sunshine, with temperatures reaching 26 degrees in the southeast, quite widely in the low 20s for more central areas of England. Tonight it remains pretty dry for much of the UK, even though showers tending to fade away. It's just the Northern Isles seeing a few lingering into the evening. So for much of Scotland, a dry night to come, but a breeze will continue holding temperatures up a little bit higher across more western areas. Across the shelter, though, it will be another quite fresh night ahead. Plenty of clear skies. A bit of mist and fog could develop overnight as well. The sunshine may be a little bit hazier to end the day across the very far south of England in particular, but plenty of dry weather overnight. We've got a ridge of high pressure still with us. The winds pick up a little bit across the far north of Scotland, to northerly winds, so that will bring quite a